U.S. I'm your co-host, Jeff Hunt, along with Bill Thorpe, bringing you the freshest insight on mistakes from the right, left, and center. Congratulations. You're waking up in the greatest country in history. Let's get to work. We got a whole show planned for you of engaging discussions, critical analysis, but most importantly, and unlike any other station show in this city and market, your voice is heard loud and clear. We don't just read text messages. We have conversations. Phone lines are open, 303-696-1971. That's 303-696-1971, or text us on the Dan Capitalist Law text line at 720-819-5115, 720-819-5115. We're going to give you the latest on the SoCal fire updates that are taking place. And is this a result of poor decision-making from the governor's office with regards to water storage and DEI policies and funding decisions coming out of the LA mayor's office, as well as the fire chief's office? We'll have that debate on this program, and you're invited to be a part of it. Again, 303-696-1971. In the 7 o'clock hour, Barb Kirkmeyer is going to join us, state senator, going to give us a little update on the start of the legislative session. And there's an office. I don't know if you know about this office. It was created called the Office of Saving People Money. Do you remember this?
Oh, I do remember that. Although the fact that I remember it so infrequently tells you how much money they saved me.
Yeah, and let me tell you what they've done with this office.
Ooh,
so Barb Kirkmeyer looked in and saw that the lieutenant governor of our great state here has been getting paid by it.
Oh, that's nice. How much money has he saved us?
On top of her existing salary as lieutenant governor.
Okay. Now, again, I know, as we often hear from the text messages and the people that call and get mad at me and don't go on the air, I can be a little slow and not so quick. So just to outline, it's early in the morning, again, for myself and the rest of our listeners, that in the Office of Saving People Money, they've decided to pay a government official a second salary.
Twice!
A second salary. And do they understand what the word saving means? I mean, is this something that we need to go back to like elementary school and we need to kind of define terms and talk about?
Classic government.
Yes,
this is classic government. They create an institution. Has anybody's money really been saved recently? No. I mean, the state's money hasn't been. They're in a $1 billion budget shortfall. So the state's not saving any money. And I'm guessing in your own personal life, you don't have a big savings account thanks to the state's actions here. So it was created and government officials got to double dip.
Why would... Okay, I understand this is government, but what I can't figure out is why you would pay them to do the second job and give them the second salary. Okay, this is why government is, in my mind, dysfunctional and inefficient in many ways. Because if we have all existed in the private sphere for a long time, and we understand that private company math is we need to create a job that will require 12 people. We will hire 9 and pay them as 6.
Yes,
that's what happens.
Right.
And then if one of those 6 people doesn't work out, they'll kick them off the team. They'll just keep 5, and everybody else gets to split up their work. No raise. Yet, however, with the government, you're already drawing a government salary. You take on an additional responsibility and get an entirely new salary? The hell? Seriously.
Can we talk about what the existing job demands are upon the lieutenant governor?
Yes.
So much so that taking upon additional burden of saving people money would require additional pay.
Yeah, of course, because there's so many duties of the lieutenant governor.
I actually think there's only one constitutional duty, if I remember this correctly. And this is, I could be completely wrong on this, but I think that the constitutional duty has to do with Indians.
Oh,
like they become the liaison between Indians and the state.
Oh,
But I think that's really
weird.
only the constitutional requirement.
It's the reason in my mind why growing up, my father, who's now departed, always used to call it, there's the governor and there's the light governor. It wasn't lieutenant governor. It was always the light governor.
Light governor.
Yeah. And I'm like, what? He's like, doesn't do anything. That job, they don't do anything there. It's the light governor. And I'm like, okay. And for years, I thought that's what it was. When I saw LT, I thought it was light. I was eventually corrected when I was like in 3rd grade. That's what I thought it was.
Well, yesterday kicked off the beginning of the legislative session. I listened to
there was much rejoicing.
I listened to the speech of there was much rejoicing. That's exactly right. Of the Speaker of the House. And I summarized about a 45-minute speech into 40
before we get
seconds.
into that, just for a sec, I got to say that watching the video that you posted, again, yeoman's work. This is wonderful. So everybody put the coffee down, pay attention to this, because this is a wonderful montage that Jeff has put together about the opening day of the legislative session. I think it's adorable that when they get there, they have flowers and stuff all over the little desks, just like the first day of school. You're like, yay! This is great. It looked just like the first day of school. Okay, I'm sorry. Continue.
No,
that
was a great description. So here's 45 minutes of the Speaker of the House in 40 seconds.
What a great birthday party you organized for all of us. How many of you have been on river raft trips? Ruthlessly, abortion access, equity, climate goals, abortion access, reproductive rights, full day free kindergarten, reproductive rights by increasing funding, LGBTQ rights, transgender. Coloradans do not support mass deportations. Yay for potatoes.
Yay for potatoes. That was my kid's favorite part.
That's my favorite part. I'm glad to see that I've reached the same intellectual level as the Hunt household kids, because that's the part that got me. Says a lot about me. Yes.
Yay for potatoes. Now, that was not an accurate summary. It was a politically motivated cartoon of what happened yesterday, but gives you a sense of some of what was talked about by the Speaker of the House.
Of the priorities of what they thought it was. I just think it's adorable. Everybody got a little thing on their desk.
Have you been whitewater rafting? Who's been whitewater rafting?
I know. Who's been whitewater rafting? Like, what? And again, it's like the first day of school. Hi, kids. Over summer break, I went whitewater rafting.
Yes.
Everybody raise their hand if you went whitewater rafting. That's exactly what it was.
That was actually the exact description of what happened.
Exactly. I know.
So we're going to talk to Barb Kirkmeyer in the 7 o'clock hour. Ted Trimpa is going to join us in the 8 o'clock hour. Ted and I were having a great conversation about the nature of appealing to populism. And
that's really interesting.
I actually don't really buy into the idea of populism. I just think that you have people on the hard right and the hard left who debate passionately based upon a philosophical worldview with regards to government. And then a vast majority of people just choose whatever candidate's going to help them in their own lives and their families. And whichever candidate gets a bigger chunk of that wins the election. But I guess we can have conversations around populism if you want, and appealing to populism. I just think you just appeal to people's best interests, and they tend to vote for whatever candidate that is.
The weird part that I have is how populism is kind of viewed as somewhat of a negative.
Exactly.
Because, at the core, you would assume both political parties would want to be engaging in populism, because populism by definition is just kind of like assuming and agreeing with what the majority of people already say is a good idea.
That's exactly what I'm saying. That's exactly right.
Which is one of the things we'll talk about Ted about, because I think that is part of the reason the Democrats failed during the last election cycle. Despite more money, despite more people, they didn't understand the populist appeal of what Trump was going after and the message he was sending, regardless of whether or not it was he could achieve it, or if it was truthful, or even more in reality. He was reflecting the emotions and the positions of many, many voters that the Democrats ignored. So this is going to be a really fun conversation with Ted, because he's willing to point out the warts. So this is going to be fun.
Ted Trimpa, the brain behind the blue takeover of Colorado, and he's always made himself accessible to conservatives and to conservative talk radio. So we'll be chatting with him in the 8 o'clock hour. 9 o'clock hour, we'll get into the Laken Riley Act and hints online that John Hickenlooper may be willing to come over and support it.
Really?
Yeah, there's a number of Democrats in the Senate. They got to get to 60. Hickenlooper may be one of them. It's just rumors online, but coming from some sources.
Now, I haven't seen the numbers. Maybe you have more than I do. I've seen one Democrat so far that's going to support it. I haven't seen any more.
That's correct. Okay. And then there's some rumors that some other Democrats may come over.
Yeah.
And that's where I go, really, Hickenlooper? Yeah. Like, he loves being as progressive as you can get.
Oh, yeah. The other part is, I think what'll tell you is which one of those is coming into an election cycle. That'll probably tell you exactly what the voting is going to be like.
And I read through the law, and I don't think it's really all that terrible. The Democrats are concerned that this could lead to deportations without due process, but we'll get into that a little bit more.
Yeah, so I can see that critique, but by and large, we'll see. We'll talk about this one. It's a good, it's a decent approach. It does have some warts, but it's okay.
Lake and Riley Act, 9 o'clock hour. So lots to talk about. Would love for you to be a part of it. But first, news and comment with Blake Olson. Good morning, Blake.
Hey, good morning, guys. That was a great post, by the way, Jeff. That was awesome.
Wasn't that?
That was so cool. Funny, man. I was enjoying
potatoes.
that.
Yes.
Yeah.
It was fantastic. And
I
again,
loved it.
And I know that, Jeff and I disagree on some things politically at times, but
I know
it's a surprise to everybody. but when he looped the abortion, I was like, that's great. That was fantastic. It was so good.
Man.
Yeah. We're going to play it again later.
That was great stuff. Appreciate that. 24 and cloudy in Denver, expecting a high of 31 today. Our top story.
My home is a building. We worked 3 years putting the home together. We loved our little house, but it means nothing compared to the 5 people who lost their lives.
Actor James Woods, who lost his home in the fires in LA. Once again, 5 people are dead, over 17,000 acres burned, and one of the wealthiest areas in the world destroyed. LA Mayor Karen Bass, who loves communism in Cuba, by the way, she cut funding by $18 million in fire protection and prevention, returned to LA from Ghana on Wednesday. Sky News reporter doing his job at the airport. Unfortunately, Bass doesn't do hers.
Do you owe citizens an apology for being absent while their homes were burning? Do you regret cutting the fire department budget by millions of dollars, Madam Mayor? Have you nothing to say today?
Can you back up? Appreciate it.
Have you absolutely nothing to say to the citizens today? Elon Musk says that you're utterly incompetent. Are you considering your position? Madam Mayor, have you absolutely nothing to say to the citizens today who are dealing with this disaster? No apology for them? Do you think you should have been visiting Ghana while this was unfolding back home? Madam Mayor, let me ask you just again, have you anything to say to the citizens today as you return?
No.
And then later, it gets worse when Bass speaks.
Again, this is an active situation. And conserve water to the extent that you can. We want to make sure that we are ready if we need more water. But make no mistake, Los Angeles will rebuild stronger than ever. Right now, if you need help, emergency information, resources, and shelter is available. All of this can be found at URL.
Okay.
No way. She said URL.
She said URL, and I'm waiting. And I'm like, obviously, this is the script.
Yeah.
And it says at URL. They did not put the website, and she had no idea what the hell she was talking about. She said at URL, and it was just
no way.
Yes.
So,
and I thought Biden was bad.
I watched that Sky video because they're in an airport. She's clearly traveling somewhere,
right?
And
she's coming back from Ghana,
and he corners her in the jetway.
Yeah, and that was great.
Just stares ahead.
Yes,
it is so weird.
It's like, I mean, there's your opportunity to say, "Oh my God, this is horrific for the citizens. We're going to do whatever we can." My prayers and thoughts are going out to the people right now. We're gonna do what we have to do, and I'll be speaking soon. Whatever. She just sits there.
Well, I want to contrast it with, and I don't remember which president it was. I don't know if it was Eisenhower. Maybe it was. But at one point there was a disaster, and an American president is walking through right after the disaster has happened, and he's calling out, "Your president is here to help." Like while people are still trapped.
Yes.
I don't know if it was a tornado or something like that, but he has a flashlight. He's walking through the rubble and he's calling out, cry out for help. Your president is here to help. I mean, that's what it should be.
Yeah, exactly.
I'm going to get on a soapbox here.
Oh, no
but
doubt.
Like, if you're the governor, you're the mayor, if there's anything that you can do, get into it, roll up your sleeves, get dirty.
Yes.
I mean, get down there and for the love of God, help your people.
Yeah. Just kind of set the tone.
Right.
At least. I mean, they're wondering, okay, you're in Ghana for vacation. Where are you? Not that everyone knows she's not going to be able to do anything. She's not fighting the fires, but she's preventing firefighters and professionals from doing the best jobs that they can do and giving them the tools and the ability to do so. But I mean, just communicating with the citizens and the voters, man, it is. I mean, it's horrible. California Governor Gavin Newsom, or Newscomb, I like that one better actually, is furious at DJT for blaming him for the fires. Newsom has directed billions of gallons of water into the Pacific. No fire mitigation in lefty cities in California. Brush covers electrical poles and lines. No water, no accountability, no shame. This dude is a fraud on CNN last night.
I hate to even ask this question, but the president-elect.
Wait, first of all, why do you hate to even ask the question? I can't think of his name, but here, I'll continue.
Anderson to attack you, blame you for this.
One can't even respond to it. I mean, it's
why?
People are literally fleeing. People have lost their lives. Kids lost their schools. Families completely torn asunder. Churches burned down. This guy wanted to politicize it. I have a lot of thoughts, and I know what I want to say. I won't. I stood next to a president of the United States of America today, and I was proud to be with Joe Biden. And he had the backs of every single person in this community. He didn't play politics, didn't try to divide any of us.
Right when he said that, I'm like, what a phony. President Biden was a train wreck right next to him earlier, just a few minutes earlier. I don't know if you saw that, Jeff. He actually talked about his new grandchild during the wildfire press conference. I mean, it's ridiculous.
So I want people to understand this, because I was part of efforts from Congress to deal with the water issue when I ran the Centennial Institute. We are a think tank in the western part of the United States, and waters. I did a whole documentary on this. And the Colorado's the roof of the West. So all of the water starts here, and then it flows down. And this is part of the interstate water compact discussions that's taking place. California takes a lot of it. Okay. So California also ends up with all the snow. But because of environmentalists, they won't build the dams necessary to hold the water. And so billions, I'm not kidding, guys, billions of gallons of water leave the state and just end up in the ocean. And then Colorado has to give the water. And it was getting so bad with other states. We were in Nevada one time having a meeting, and Lauren Boebert was there and all these other members. And Nevada has to have this water just go through its state to California. And because of the environmentalists in California, they won't build desalination either. So what Nevada was actually thinking of doing was building water treatment plants in Mexico, and then pumping the water from Mexico up into Nevada. Now, what's the one thing you always learn about Mexico? You don't drink the water in Mexico. Yeah. So it was environmentalist crazy. I mean, guys, this goes back decades of having to deal with environmentalists in California that wouldn't build the water storage plants, wouldn't build desalination, and would just take water from Colorado, Nevada, Arizona, and create problems for everybody else.
It's horrible.
Ideology
killing people.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's amazing. James Woods, he rips LA Fire Chief Kristen Crowley, who's proud to be part of the LGBTQ community, her words. Woods says that she's focusing on the DEI, or DIE in this case, instead of fire prevention and protection.
If it is true that things were handled this way, if it is true that Gavin Newsom is the absolute blithering idiot that I believe he is in the way he has handled fire management in this state again and again and again and again, this isn't a wake-up call. This is the kind of thing they have tribunals for, where they try people and say, you had an oath of office to perform certain duties. When you're the fire chief, this isn't a social justice exercise that you're in charge of. This is you getting water to areas that need water because there are fires in 100-mile-an-hour winds burning houses to the ground.
And DJT has been talking about this for years, 6 years ago.
We're giving billions and billions of dollars for forest fires in California. There's no reason for those fires to be like they are. They're leaving them dirty. It's a disgraceful thing. Old trees are sitting there rotting and dry. And instead of cleaning it up, they don't touch them. They leave them. And we end up with these massive fires that we're paying hundreds of billions of dollars for to fix, and the destruction is incredible.
That was 6 years ago. DJT paying his respects to the late Jimmy Carter. Trump and First Lady Melania were at the Capitol Rotunda on Wednesday, where the 39th president was lying in state in a flag-draped casket. His funeral is today. President Biden will deliver the eulogy. Trump is expected to attend along with every other living U.S. president. Former Denver Mayor Wellington Webb and his wife will attend. Webb told KUSA that he led Carter's Colorado presidential campaign in 1976. I remember that, even though I was only 10. Thank God that only lasted 4 years. News brought to you by Lair Fireplace and Patio, Denver's premier source for everything fireplace and patio and grills, locally owned and operated since 1954, online at lairfireplacepatio.com. Nuggets run past the Clippers 126-103 last night. Avs lose to the Blackhawks 3-1. And tonight, college football semifinals. Notre Dame tries to knock off Penn State at 5:30. 21 in Broomfield, 22 in Lone Tree, 24 in Denver. And it is Thursday. Jeff and Billy continue. Blake Olson, News Talk 710 KNUS.
Morning snow showers likely. Light accumulations. Watch out for icy conditions as winds will be strong, causing some blowing snow. Northwest winds of 15 to 35 miles an hour. Temperatures will be steady in the upper 20s today. Cold tonight. Lows 5 to 10. Areas of fog possible tonight. Friday, patchy morning fog, sunny, cold 30s. Increasing clouds Friday night, lower 20s. It'll be mostly to partly cloudy Saturday and Sunday with a few snow showers and remaining cold with highs 30s, lows teens. Meteorologist Don Day in the 710 KNUS Weather Center.
Welcome back to the Jeff and Bill Show. I just posted on x.com/Jeff Hunt. 3 years ago, I made a documentary about Western wildfires and why the government is primarily to blame for these. And it has to do with a philosophical mentality that you either treat the forest like a museum, right? It just let it sit there. We don't touch it. Or you treat it like a garden and you clear out the dead brush and all that. No, that's not the sole reason for the fires in California. Winds had a big part to do with this. All the homes close to each other, all that. But it has a part of it.
Yeah, but didn't these start somewhat in brush close to
yes.
Residential? So
yeah,
the thing about the fires in the forest, not necessarily as applicable in this particular situation. I mean, there's a point to be made.
There's brush involved, but it's not the entire reason for these.
Yeah,
so,
I'm not referring more to what you're saying, but more of what the Trump clip that Blake had played. That to me was focused on forest and everything else, which is somewhat irrelevant in this particular situation. I understand his critique, but the complaint about the idea of the forest isn't what led to this particular situation. In my opinion.
Know. Yeah, I don't know. Just because the maps show so much, and we don't know the origins of these fires, but so much of the maps that are listed show kind of more kind of not necessarily like what I'm trying to get away is the idea that it was like the big forests in northern California.
Yeah, that's exactly
these are smaller brush areas, but it's still not just like a neighborhood. At least the maps show a lot of this started in kind of the parks. But Bill, you had some audio on the fire hydrants because this was something that we broke yesterday. LA Times was breaking that they were running out of pressure. What did you learn?
Yeah, this is from ABC 10 in San Diego. I cut this 2-minute report down in about half because it only deals with when they're talking to the people out of LA. And I'll let the reporter introduce who they're speaking with. And this is someone that talks about why during some of the most intense firefighting time that you turned on the fire hydrants and there was no water.
Jeremy Davis is with the Lakeside Fire Protection District. He is keeping a close eye on the fires in LA. There have been reports that the hydrants went down and ran out of water. Officials say the water system had 4 times the normal demand.
Just alone on the Eaton fire last night, in about a 40-minute time period, they requested 40 strike teams of engines. What that equates to is about 200 fire engines. So just put that number alone with the local resources, say about 200 fire engines connected to a fire hydrant, trying to get water out of the pipe at the same time. The pipes are only designed to flow so much water.
Not only that, Davis says if the power goes out, that impacts the water pumps.
You lose power to a pump station, that automatically right there could take away half of what's normally available. And then you add the fire engines, water tenders, even homeowners using their hoses, turning on landscaping lines.
If you live in an area with high winds, Davis says, keep a water supply or water tank on your property if you can. That could be a big help if the system goes down. Aaron Dickens, ABC 10 News.
Yeah, so the example there that he's talking about is like here it's 710 KNUS. We are in a 6-story office building. If today we got someone to stand next to every toilet in every bathroom on every floor in this building and flush them all within 10 seconds, there's going to be water problems. And so that's part of the issue as far as why they ran out of it. And you wouldn't turn around if we all flushed the toilet at the same time in the building and go, oh my God, how come the landlord didn't know about this? They're obviously skimping us on water. It has to do with where the supply and the demand comes. It's the same reason that you have a GFI circuit inside of your house. When the load gets too big, it shuts it off. The same thing. I'm not saying that this exonerates or excuses some of the poor water management inside of California,
right?
But the idea that this is because they necessarily didn't build enough reservoirs or didn't have enough of this, or as I saw in a text message, DEI is responsible for this because DEI got in the way of the water somehow. That's not necessarily as applicable because of the load that was needed. Those fire hydrants are normally built to fight 1 or 2 fires, 3 houses at the most. That's basically what they're looking at. And when you have entire blocks going up and you have, they have hundreds of fire engines there drawing on that supply at the same time, yeah, that's going to take water. and it's gonna hurt the total supply because it's still a connected system.
Here's what I'm interested in hearing from our listeners is we had a fire not too dissimilar, right? The Marshall Fire, 991 structures, 37,500 people evacuated. It was over 6,000 acres. If you remember how fast that was moving, and that was what year? 2022. So 3 years ago. It went over 3 days. I remember we were offering people to store horses if they needed to over at our place in Elizabeth. So I remember it vividly. I don't remember the frustration and anger towards Polis that people have towards Newsom and the mayor. Right? Do you remember, and correct me if I'm wrong, but do you remember people being angry at Polis? I remember the frustration coming later with the rebuilding and all the stupid little environmental policies that had been implemented. People couldn't rebuild their houses.
Yeah, but part of that is also time because of code. It's the idea that if you had your house wired for electricity in the 50s and now you're doing a remodel, codes have changed. So it's going to be much more expensive.
But do you remember in the initial frustration against Polis?
I don't remember it, but that doesn't mean it doesn't necessarily exist, because it's that, like, this frustration with Newsom probably will abate in the future as well. If it will, by the time the next election cycle, we will see. But 7 years from now, 5 years from now, it may not be the same type of anger directed towards Newsom. I'm not sure.
Blame the mayor of Los Angeles, the fire chief of Los Angeles, and the governor of California for the problems and these wildfires that are taking place in Los Angeles?
No, personally, no, I don't. I think there are some larger issues based on their supply of water and how they retain it. And a conversation you had earlier talking about how they don't hang on to rainwater and runoff water and how they haven't been building reservoirs absolutely is a critique. And that's why they have problems watering lawns and other stuff throughout. I think that is stupid. I think they're making a mistake there. But does that necessarily mean this is why this, and then it's the fire chief and everybody else's problems? No, I don't blame them for this problem, because this seems to be an extreme event. And part of what I also lean into, and I know this is a difficult conversation, is this is what was expected when we talked about the climate changing, that these type of fires are going to be more frequent and going to be more violent, and they're going to grow larger. And again, I'm not taking a position saying, oh my God, we got to stop driving cars and turn off all your stoves and all the other crap. I'm just saying that we have real time experience in our lives of the global planet climate changing. And this is one of the things that they said was going to happen. Again, not taking a position on telling you not to drive your car, not worried about that. I'm not getting into a climate discussion, but we can agree that the climate is changing. And I understand you, our listeners, are yelling at the radio right now. So I got a question for you. And I've asked Jeff this too. And I've asked people about this. Where's Tornado Alley? If you're over the age of 35, you grew up with Tornado Alley that ran through a portion of the Midwest. We don't have it anymore. We used to have a tornado season that ran tornadoes through Tornado Alley. We now have tornadoes 12 months out of the year in places that never had tornadoes before. That is climate change. Not sitting here saying it's because we're all driving cars or eating red meat or cow farts. Not taking a position on that. I'm just showing the facts that exist on the planet. So I'm not talking, I'm not going to turn this into a debate about climate change, but as we can see, the climate is changing. This is one of the things they said was going to happen. Now, is there some blame in my mind for those people in charge in California to not have prepped and start building reservoirs for this type of eventuality? Yes, especially because we should all admit the climate is changing. Not telling you to get out of your car, not telling you to stop eating red meat. I'm just saying that we should expect these larger fires to exist, and they're going to burn hotter and brighter, just like hurricanes are going to be more forceful. Tornadoes are going to be more forceful. Okay, deal with it. Plan for it. They should be building more reservoirs.
So I see this as classic Democratic ineptitude, okay? And I say this all the time. Democrats are really passionate, just in the wrong direction, Okay, so they'll get really worked up, and we'll play some audio later on this about we're going to hit diversity numbers. We're going to invest a lot in homelessness and taking care of illegal immigrants and stuff like that. Like what you see in the city of Denver all the time. Okay, they put all this energy and all this money, and they get the very basics of actually managing a city in a state wrong. They don't take care of dealing with crime. They don't take care of making sure that we have enough firefighters, quality, well-trained firefighters, to make sure that if this pops off, this fire pops off, that they can address it quickly and efficiently. They have put this mayor, this fire chief, and this governor in California have put all their energy and money and passion in the wrong areas, and the people are suffering as a result of it. That's how I see this. Tell me what you think. Give us a call, 303-696-1971. Text us on the Dan Caplis Law text line. You're listening to The Jeff and Bill Show.
This is Denver's Talk Leader, News Talk 710 KNUS.
At this hour, I'm Christina Owayo in Dallas, and here are your top stories. Salem Media Group has added Brad Parscale, President Donald Trump's former campaign manager, to the team. He will take the role of Chief Strategy Officer, bringing his wealth of knowledge and expertise to the company, focusing on digital marketing and online strategy. Parscale was the mastermind behind Trump's 2016 political campaign, using brilliant digital techniques, specifically on Facebook, that most had never heard of and no one was using in the political world. His targeted technique, unorthodox game plan, and insight into online audiences led to a Trump victory, even though the campaign operated with 10% of the staff and half the money of Trump's opponent. The highly skilled digital architect worked on Trump's 2020 re-election campaign and used his own digital platforms, Campaign Nucleus and Eyes Over, to lift Trump to victory in 2024. Salem's CEO, Dave Centrella, said Parscale's track record speaks for itself, and he's confident that the hire will take Salem to new levels of success. As for Parscale, well, he says he's excited to join the team and lead the company into a new era of innovation, saying, quote, "I'm looking forward to enhancing Salem's ability to create engaging, values-driven content that connects with today's audiences while exploring new tools and platforms to broaden our reach." That's what you need to know at this hour. In Dallas, Christina Owayo, Salem News Channel. I'm Christina Owayo in Dallas, and we have breaking news coming into Salem News Channel. Canadian Prime Minister Justin Trudeau has resigned as leader of the Liberal Party. Trudeau has been the Prime Minister of Canada for 9 years and the leader of his party for 11. He faced growing pressure from his own party's lawmakers to step down and faced numerous crises, from the resignation of key allies to disastrous opinion polls and even tariff threats from President Donald Trump. Trudeau is widely expected to lose the general election that will be held later this year, with his resignation being seen as the prime minister choosing to leave before being pushed out. President Donald Trump is expected to grant clemency to more than 1,000 January 6ers as Congress gets set to certify Trump's victory in the 2024 election. 4 years after thousands of people took to the Capitol to support Trump and protest what they called a, quote, rigged election, the events of January 6th have become a campaign center point for the Democrats, and hundreds remain in jail. Trump will be back in the White House in 2 weeks, at which point many expect him to fulfill his promises of swift clemency for the 1,000-plus people convicted and hundreds more with pending cases. Pardons early on will set the tone for Trump's plan to eliminate political persecution. This year's January 6 election certification has been designated a national special security event, which will be overseen by the Secret Service. In Dallas, Christina Aguayo, Salem News Channel.
Welcome back to the Jeff and Bill Show. Who do you blame? Or is it whom do you blame for the LA fires? Is it climate change? Is this a freak catastrophe? Or do you point blame at the policies of the mayor, the police chief, the governor with regards to actually preparing for something like this? Let's go to the phone lines. Jeff, good morning. You're on the Jeff and Bill Show.
Morning.
Good morning, guys. How are you?
Good. How are you? Thanks for the call. What's on your mind?
Good. Well, you know, the climate change thing it's a tough one to there's just so many other factors. It just seems like, you know, I used to do land survey in the Santa Monica Mountains out there all over Malibu and that area. Spent a lot of time in that area. And you know what I mean? You're up on the side of these hills, you know, surveying property lines. And there was lots of times where when I'm looking for a pipe for a corner, you know what I mean? And it could have been, you know, 4 or 5 feet of, you know, like 1 inch thick kindling kind of branches. That's the coastal scrub is what they call it.
Yeah.
You know, and you're walking around on this stuff and it's literally, you know, 4 foot deep of that kind of, you know what I mean? Those sticks, you know what I mean? And it's just incredible. And you can't even find them. You'll see snakes up in there and then they disappear down in it and you don't know where they go. And, you know what I mean? It's just, so what I'm trying to say is it's like, it's pretty convenient to use climate change because, you know, oh, the winds it's worse. And well, meanwhile, you have all this kindling. What, you know, did climate change cause that kindling to pile up? Probably not. You know what I mean? It's the Germans. We could take a page from the Germans' book. I think they do clean those forests up. They spend a lot of energy going up into those hills, cleaning. If you go up in, I mean, have you ever driven around Grand Lake in a boat and you look up on the hillside and it's just nothing but down trees and the same thing.
Yeah, and all
you know
the,
what I mean?
the
And
beetle
it will happen here.
The beetle
This
kill.
will happen here.
Right. And the mentality from many Democrats was, well, these forests were great for 2,000 years until people came along, and now we just got to get it back to treating it like a museum so little squirrels can run around and stuff like that.
Exactly.
But treating it like that sets up for these catastrophes.
Exactly.
And we've got to change our mentalities. So,
I mean, they're literally you're sitting ducks, and then you've got so many homes that are up in these hills now.
Yes, that is exactly
that's
right.
the thing too. We didn't have, so it's like, is it climate change? I mean, or are we just burning our own homes down at a rate that is higher, way higher than used to be? Especially with the tornadoes. You pointed out the Tornado Alley doesn't exist. I utterly disagree with that. Of course it exists. It does happen in areas
No, but Jeff,
that we're not aware of. But I think that's a factor of how much information is thrown out. Those things happened in those areas.
Excuse me,
probably that weren't reported nearly as much as they are now. Now we know they happened the instant they happened.
Jeff, you're wrong. Growing up, Jeff, how old are you? Are you in your 40s?
I'm 49, and I grew up in this area.
Good. Now, you then had the experience of having a tornado season and a tornado alley in America. Those routine tornadoes didn't exist outside of that season, nor outside of that alley. You didn't get tornadoes in Jersey. You didn't get tornadoes in Florida. You didn't get tornadoes in Georgia. That did not happen. It wasn't a function of media or not knowing, because we still had media and you would have known. It would have been a couple of days later. That's not a function of it. Now we do not have a tornado season, nor do we have a tornado alley. Nobody talks about it. It was up to 20 years ago. That was regular. No. When's the last time you had Colorado talk about tornado alley? It used to be a regular report when it happened in the spring here in Colorado. Doesn't happen anymore.
How many meteorology courses have you taken in college? Is what I'm curious. I took quite a few. And I know for a fact Tornado Alley does exist, and it's square in the middle of Oklahoma. It is literally, the frequency is exactly, I mean, those facts have not changed.
I didn't say that tornadoes don't exist there, Jeff. What I said is the alley has expanded to the entire country, and we don't have a particular season. You, with your meteorology degree, should know that. This is something that you should know much better than I do, but yet you sit here and say
the frequency of tornadoes have not changed, and it's literally the state of Oklahoma.
No.
Or if you look at it, it literally encompasses just Oklahoma.
Jeff, do we only have tornadoes in Tornado Alley like we used to, and do we have a tornado season still? Or do we have tornadoes extant around the country at all 12 months?
The frequency has stayed very constant in Tornado Alley.
Oh, see, okay, thank you. I appreciate it. Jeff, I appreciate that, but you're ignoring my question. I asked you a very direct question, Jeff. I'm done. I am done. I asked you a direct question twice about it, and you avoided the question. I asked you directly about Tornado Alley, about the season, and about where they existed, and you went back to Oklahoma. I pushed you away from Oklahoma twice. I'm not dancing that today. So if you're not going to answer the question, bye. I appreciate the information, but answer the question.
Google AI is saying that the Tornado Alley has remained relatively stable, but has shifted towards the east, and that the frequency of tornadoes has remained relatively constant.
Yes. What about the tornadoes throughout the rest of the country that we didn't have before? And we also don't have a tornado season. That's my point.
Okay. Well, we got to get to You Choose the News. You're listening to The Jeff and Bill Show.
This is Denver's Talk Leader, News Talk 710 KNUS.
got us full lines. We'll get to those in just a second and a lot of text messages. But first, you choose the news.
Yes, it is that time of the morning where we get to make questionable decisions because those in charge have left us unsupervised. Yeah, thing that my parents learned very painfully when I was a child. Not a good thing for me to always be a latchkey kid. I love you, Mom. Hey, this is You Choose the News, America's favorite fake radio news game show. I have scoured the interwebs for mere moments this morning to find really dumb stories about us humans and then given them even more ridiculous headlines to play this fake radio news game show. Why? Well, as we outlined, nobody knows we do this. So, shh. Again, this is our little secret. Alrighty. Blake Olson joins us from the news department. Jeff is in the studio. Here are your headlines, sirs. Headline number 1, new phone. Who dis? Headline number 2, gentrified video game. Headline number 3, can we talk about your phobia? And headline number 4, my excuse is it's cold. Jeff, your choice, sir.
My excuse is it's cold.
Well, you would go with this one. All right. We are going to, first of all, apologize to Mrs. Jeff, but tell the kids if they're in the car, turn it up, kids. This is going to be fun. All righty. A new research study across the UK says, you know, guys, it's not your fault that little Jimmy is a little smaller during the winter. You may be suffering from, and this is a medical term, and that's why I'm saying it, it's called snow penis. Basically, it means that during the, or you can even call it winter penis if you wish, the body's temperature drops, and in response to the temperature, you pull the blood flow into more vital organs, meaning Jim and the twins shrink. Actually, during the winter months.
It really was happening to George Costanza.
Yes, exactly. Yes. Now, the thing means that you could even experience erectile dysfunction because of the decreased blood flow. It makes it difficult to, you know, get busy. Also, they do say in the summer months, yes, it can even increase and you look much better. And that's why you want to be, you know, George Costanza and stay out of the water when it's, you know, cold in the shrinkage. So again, if we needed to name this, they're calling it winter penis. We could also go with snow scrotum. Maybe tiny icicle syndrome. No. Let's see. Frosty's less functioning. No. The little chilly willy. No, none of those. Okay.
Mini snow shovel.
Yes, that's a great one. You're the best. Okay, Blake, your choice this morning, sir. New phone, who dis? Gentrified video gamer. Can we talk about your phobia?
New phone, who dis?
Yeah, new phone, who dis? Bay County, Florida. 41-year-old Octavia recently dialed her drug dealer to ask about a fentanyl shipment. Although she got the numbers wrong, she texted a local drug enforcement agent and found herself in the Crossbar Hotel because he absolutely said, "Oh, yes, I will help you purchase the illegal drugs." Yeah, make sure you do the right one. And as we close up, Jeff, gentrified video gamer, can we talk about your phobia?
Phobia.
Talk about your phobia. Nottingham College in England is running a class. It is teaching kids how to use the phone because they don't pick it up. They only text. Yeah. Phone class in college.
To the Jeff and Bill Show.
KNUS.
It is 9 a.m., 7 a.m. Sorry, 7 a.m.
Scared
on this Thursday, January 9th. Good morning, Denver, Colorado. You've tuned into the Jeff and Bill Show. News Talk 710 KNUS. I'm your co-host, Jeff Hunt, along with Bill Thorpe, bringing you the freshest insights, hottest takes from the right, left, and center. Congratulations, you're heading to work in the greatest country in history. We're off and running. We got a whole hour planned for you of engaging discussions, critical analysis, most importantly, your phone calls and texts, because this is where Denver's voice is heard loud and clear. So grab a cup of coffee, Denver. Let's dive into the issues that matter most to you right here, right now. Coming up a little bit later in the hour, Barb Kirkmeyer, state senator, is going to join us. Legislative session kicked off yesterday, and we're going to be talking about this double dipping that the lieutenant governor is doing from the Office of Saving People Money. I can't anymore with all this, but
why couldn't they have a cool acronym or something for it too? You know, the Doge thing, but the Office of Saving People Money. When you have an office like that, you know exactly what's going to happen. Nothing. They're not going to save people money.
Expenditure of more people's money.
Yes, exactly.
Let's go to the phone lines. What do we do? Mary, Wyoming. Good morning, Mary. You're on the Jeff and Bill Show.
Good morning. One of the things you were asking for was who to blame. I blame the government and the environmentalists
for the LA wildfires.
On the LA wildfires. And because of their policy or the pressure that they put on federal government and state government in like not allowing prescribed burns, not allowing or reducing the ability of ranchers to be able to graze their cows who chew up all that vegetation, not allowing them to lease the land to be able to go up there. These policies contribute to all that vegetation. I don't understand why government responsibility is one of the main reason would be, it's like defending the country, would be to prevent wildfires.
Yeah, Mary,
and I
want to ask you about DEI. Here's the fire chief of Los Angeles talking about prioritizing DEI.
I'm super inspired.
She took time out of her already busy schedule to tell us about her vision for the department's future, one that includes a 3-year strategic plan to increase diversity.
People ask me, well, what number are you looking for? I said, I'm not looking for a number. It's never enough.
Out of 3,300 city firefighters, only 115 are women right now. She's already looking at ways to change that. She's quick to point out that doing so has a greater purpose, attracting the best and brightest for the job.
They feel included, they feel valued, and they feel part of a cohesive team.
The chief also checks another box when it comes to inclusivity and diversity at this department. She's a proud member of the LGBTQ community.
That just kind of opens the door of people that thought, wow, I didn't even know that was an opportunity for me.
So what I hear in that conversation are priorities, right? This is what I'm going to put my energy towards. What I didn't hear in that was
how to put out fires and how to prevent fires.
Exactly.
That's what I didn't hear.
Yes.
And what I'm frustrated with is that Colorado, you're next, because you have allowed all those environmentalists to put the pressure on the policies that prevent you from protecting your forests, and which means so in other words, my concern is that I hope that you look at it as a cautionary tale, now, because
I got a question
you folks have there.
In that report that we heard, where did you hear her say that fires weren't going to be a priority? Where did you hear her say that wasn't going to be a concern? I'm curious where you're deriving that from.
Allowing that budget to be cut by that without mentioning all those kind of things instead of DEI or DIE. In other words, where was how we're getting rid of the vegetation that's going to burn when those high winds come up? Where was any of that?
Where in that conversation did you say we need to have more vegetation and we need to have less water in order to fight the fire? Where was that in the conversation? Because the conversation was about increasing diversity inside of the fire department. And if you listened about halfway through that report, it said to recruit the best and brightest. It seems to me that what she was trying to do is cast a wider net If you say that, and Mary, you've experienced this in your life where people said only these people that have either testicles or this color skin can do this job. And that report right there said she's looking at expanding that. No, Mary, you've experienced it, but in that report, that's what she's talking about.
I'm going to have to defend and say this one thing about the government. I worked for 10 years with the Forest Service. And one of the things that surprised me was the amount of diversity that was already in it. California is under Department of Interior, if I remember right, because they were one of the first national forests. And the reason I bring that up is that their firefighting crew, especially for most time not year round, during fire season, are the prisoners. Majority of the crews are heavy minority. They're doing the fight.
And prisoners as well. I remember that, I don't remember who it is. I think it's in California, but one of the mayors talked about not releasing certain prisoners early because they needed them as a workforce. And I think it may be the wrong state, but it wasn't.
No, it was
they weren't doing fire.
It was California.
It was Kamala Harris, actually. She
I don't remember.
was the attorney general.
I'm not sure if that was, no, this is more recent. This is a more recent one where they were looking at a work release and the people were actually working at Wendy's and some other stuff. And they were looking, no, we need them to provide revenue. We need them to do the job because it provides revenue for us. So no, we're not going to let them go out and get the jobs they are doing right now on their own. But
the issue isn't that Democrats are purposely, right? Like, we're going to allow this to overgrow with the hope that there's a fire and all that. Nobody's saying that it was intentional. But when you get the DEI woke mindset, what ends up happening is you reprioritize the wrong things. So in this case, in this interview, you don't hear her saying, I'm going to hire the very best to make sure that the fire protection and safety of LA citizens is paramount. Instead, you get this focus on irrelevant things like skin color and driving up diversity numbers in a hope to meet some arbitrary goal. And as a result, because you've prioritized that first, the actual safety of Los Angelesites goes down. It becomes secondary. It's exactly what you see with Mike Johnston. It's the exact same thing. Is housing first. How's that? I'm going to go put all my energy towards housing first. Meanwhile, crime is getting worse. Do I think that Mike Johnston wants more crime in Colorado? No, but he suffers from this woke mindset that prioritizes the wrong things.
So the priority of hiring the best and brightest is woke and wrong. Because that's what news report said.
That's part of hiring, not only in firefighting, it's throughout all the different divisions that you have.
But that's a bad thing, right? That's a bad thing, right? We shouldn't hire diversity. We shouldn't look for the best and brightest. It's too woke. We need to predetermine.
That was one line in there. A vast majority of that conversation was about arbitrary aspects to somebody's life, like their skin color, their sexual orientation. Does it matter to you if your house is on fire what the skin color or sexual orientation of the person who showed up was? No, I just want the best person to help me put out the fire.
But how come the best?
That's what I'm trying to say. Things have changed, and you're right. I've experienced it, and I was in most cases a first Black woman in many industries, and I made a difference in that because guess what? I wasn't a token hire. I won their awards. And believe me, to this day, I don't have any wonderful friends that I worked with, etc. Those people hated that I was there. I was not accepted. I had to do all that. And the reason I bring that up is that I see a difference now. I look at the federal government. I look at all the different, and I look at how many minorities are. I'm not talking about Black people. I'm talking about Hispanics, Asian, Indians. I see a diversity that it has paid off. And so I don't go back. So her thing about having to get etc. Women, a lot of times, and I don't want to put that out there, that is very strenuous work. And there are women, and I know some badass women who do a doggone good job of doing that. But there's a lot of them that can't either. They don't have the It's not the skill. I mean, in other words, I couldn't do 50 push-ups.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Come on, let's be fair.
Thanks so much. We just got Barb Kirkmeyer coming up. Stick around as well, Rick and Dwayne. We'll get to you guys, but first, news and comment with Blake Olson. Good morning, Blake.
Hey, good morning, guys. Yeah, all I care about is the strongest and the bravest when you talk about firefighters. 25 and cloudy in Denver, expecting a high of 31 today. Our top story, Colorado has sent resources to California to assist in fighting the devastating wildfires. There's also a growing list of fire departments that could be called for help if California needs reinforcements.
Do you owe citizens an apology for being absent while their homes were burning? Do you regret cutting the fire department budget by millions of dollars, Madam Mayor? Have you nothing to say today? Have you absolutely nothing to say to the citizens today? Elon Musk says that you're utterly incompetent. Are you considering?
And that's Sky News, a Sky News reporter trying to get a quick soundbite from the mayor of LA, Karen Bass, on Wednesday, arriving at the airport as part of the city burns to the ground. 5 people are dead, and then Bass, who cut $18 million to the city's fire department, had a news conference later, and she reads her script.
Again, this is an active situation, and conserve water to the extent that you can. We want to make sure that we are ready if we need more water. But make no mistake, Los Angeles will rebuild stronger than ever. Right now, if you need help, emergency information, resources, and shelter is available. All of this can be found at URL.
So just go to URL and all your information will be right there. There was obviously supposed to be a website right after that, and they forgot to put it in there. Pause. I was trying to remember. I couldn't remember what was on Biden's script teleprompter. Man, that one's tough to beat right there. You know, one of our listeners, he just texted me. His name is Scott, and he said it's 2025 and we can't put out a fire in a huge city with fire hydrants. Yeah, I agree with that. Actor James Woods.
It's also important to point out that fire was moving 2 to 3 football fields a minute.
Oh, no doubt. Yeah.
Like that.
It's all preventative.
Yeah.
I mean, there's no prevention whatsoever. I know Billy was talking about the forest and everything, but there's brush. All you have to do is go to LA and see all the brush in those hills and the terrain around the city, or on the phone lines or electrical poles, and you can just see it. Need to clean it up, and plenty of trash too. Actor James Woods lost his home. He rips LA Fire Chief Christian Crowley, who said her priority, as Jeff and Billy talked about, is making sure there are more women and LGBTQ in the department.
If it is true that things were handled this way, if it is true that Gavin Newsom is the absolute blithering idiot that I believe he is in the way he has handled fire management in this state again and again and again and again, this isn't a wake-up call. This is the kind of thing they have tribunals for, where they try people and say, you had an oath of office to perform certain duties. When you're the fire chief, this isn't a social justice exercise that you're in charge of. This is you getting water to areas that need water because there are fires in 100-mile-an-hour winds burning houses to the ground.
DJT has been talking about this for years, talking about the forests in Northern California or the dry brush in the hills of Southern California. And he blamed Governor Gavin Newsom on nuisance, whatever, Wednesday, no sense. He was on CNN with a little response here.
I hate to even ask this question, but the president-elect chose to attack you, blame you for this.
One can't even respond to it. I mean, it's people are literally fleeing. People have lost their lives. Kids lost their schools. Families completely torn asunder. Churches burned down. This guy wanted to politicize it. I have a lot of thoughts, and I know what I want to say. I won't. I I stood next to a president of the United States of America today, and I was proud to be with Joe Biden. And he had the backs of every single person in this community. He didn't play politics, didn't try to divide any of us.
Yeah, he was proud to be right next to Joe Biden. No fire mitigation in lefty cities in California. And by the way, President Biden talked about his new grandchild entering the world during the press conference. Not great timing. More information expected to come out today on the January 6th pipe bomber. 2 days ago, DJT said the FBI knows who it was. Why was Kamala Khan conveniently there at the DNC headquarters when she was supposed to be at the Capitol? The security video looks like it's doctored now, different from the original. And how could Secret Service, FBI, and police be so clueless? It's like they're Barney Fife or something walking by these pipe bombs. Darren Beatty says 95% is uncovered, and hopefully Kash Patel can finally solve the remainder after he's confirmed. Trump paying his respects to the late Jimmy Carter. Trump and First Lady Melania were at the Capitol Rotunda on Wednesday, where the 39th president was lying in state in a flag-draped casket. His funeral is today. President Biden will be delivering the eulogy. And DJT expected to attend along with other living U.S. presidents. Former Denver Mayor Wellington Webb and his wife will attend. Webb told 9 News that he led Carter's Colorado presidential campaign in 1976. Nuggets run past the Clippers 126-103 last night, and the Avs lose to the Blackhawks. We have college football tonight, the semifinals, Notre Dame and Penn State, 5:30. 21 in Boulder, 23 in Littleton, 25 in Denver. It's Thursday. Jeff and Billy continue. Blake Olson, News Talk 710 KNUS.
Morning snow showers likely. Light accumulations. Watch out for icy conditions as winds will be strong, causing some blowing snow. Northwest winds of 15 to 35 miles an hour. Temperatures will be steady in the upper 20s today. Cold tonight. Lows 5 to 10. Areas of fog possible tonight. Friday, patchy morning fog, sunny, cold 30s. Increasing clouds Friday night, lower 20s. It'll be mostly to partly cloudy Saturday and Sunday with a few snow showers and remaining cold with highs 30s, lows teens. Meteorologist Don Day in the 710 KNUS Weather Center.
Well, hold on to your wallets. The legislative session kicked off yesterday. State House, State Senate, totally controlled by Democrats.
I kind of like this as
take
Barb,
your money.
Barb Kirkmeyer walk-up music.
This is good Barb Kirkmeyer walk-up music.
It's like, yeah, she's
I
here.
hope she walks into the Capitol with this in her head today. So I listened to the speech by the Speaker of the House. It was about 45 minutes. I summarized it for you. Here it is.
What a great birthday party you organized for all of us. How many of you have been on river raft trips? Ruthlessly, abortion access, equity, climate goals, abortion access, reproductive rights. Full day free kindergarten, reproductive rights by increasing funding, LGBTQ rights, transgender. Coloradans do not support mass deportations. Yay for potatoes.
It was a productive day down there in the House of Representatives, but I want to go over to the Senate side, and Senator Barbara Kirkmeyer joins us. She represents Senate District 23, that's Weld, Larimer County, northern part of Colorado, and she had an interesting post out there, and I remember this, and I sure hope we're not continuing to pay this, but she pointed out that the lieutenant governor is getting paid 2 salaries. And the irony is so rich here. In 2019, Democrats passed a bill creating the Office of Saving People Money, of which they paid the lieutenant governor $75,000 on top of her $93,000 a year existing salary to be the lieutenant governor. That's a whopping $163,000. And I sure hope we're still not doing this, but I don't know. I'm going to ask her, and I want to ask her about how yesterday went. Senator Barb Kirkmeyer, thanks so much for joining the Jeff and Bill Show.
Yes, good morning.
Yeah, thanks for having me. Good morning.
So are we still paying the lieutenant governor $75,000 a year?
Yes, and we've been paying her since 2019, $75,000 a year. On top of her lieutenant governor salary, which is $93,000. So what's that? $168,000 a year for her to do her job.
Okay, Barb,
Can we talk about the job? Is she actually saving people money?
Here's the thing: is I need Jeff needs to take a couple of deep breaths. Sometimes I get worked up on this one, and he's got this vein in the middle of his forehead that's pulsing right now. That is wonderful to see because he's very accurate in his anger and emotion in this. Because how hard is lieutenant governor job in the first place? I don't know of a whole lot of real tough things involved in that job, and the job is so taxing, so difficult, so time consuming that when the lieutenant governor takes on extra work, extra salary, how hard is that job? Oh, good. And I think Jeff is his breathing's returned to normal. Okay.
Well, and here's the thing. This Office of Saving People Money, which is kind of a joke. I mean, I'm just going to say it is. I'm not exactly sure what they do there either, but I'm pretty sure they haven't saved us money when we've just seen articles and we've gotten information where our health insurance premiums are going up from anywhere to 5 to 7%. So I don't think they've saved us money. I don't think the governor's out there saving people money. But this started off as an executive order, like January of 2019. Right as soon as the governor gets elected, basically, he creates this office, passes this executive order, and says that the lieutenant governor will be the director of the office, that she receives $93,360, and it has these things that she's supposed to be doing as the director of Office of Saving Money. And our illustrious Democrats in the legislature, because I looked through the votes and I didn't see anywhere where a Republican voted for this bill. It wasn't carried by a Republican. They weren't a sponsor or co-sponsor. So the Democrats decided, well, let's just turn it into a law. So this is a law now that she is, or the lieutenant governor, so it would be future lieutenant governors as well, just so we all know, is the director of the Office of Saving People Money, and they get $75,000 additional on top of their $93,360. Now, I want you to just put this in perspective. We're in a structural deficit. We're anywhere from $700 million to 1 point whatever billion dollars in the hole. This isn't a tightening your belt kind of year. This is, we've cracked the foundation, it's crumbling, and we're in a structural deficit because of year-over-year overspending. This is just one example of waste in the last 6 years.
You say it, Barb Kirkmeyer. Man, I'm glad to have a fighter like you down at the Colorado State Capitol. So, I mean, speaking of budget, what do you expect changes to be made to address this $1 billion budget deficit?
We're going to have to make cuts in the ongoing general fund operating budget. So when we talk about the possible $1 billion budget, and it really does, I mean, it's in fluctuation. It's hard to really determine what our, we know it's at least $700 million plus, but there's other things that still have to occur here over the next couple of weeks where we true up our student count. So our school finance and education funding, we'll true that up in this current fiscal year. We have to true up our Medicaid providers, and that's based on population and what happened over the course of the last year and how much did we expand it. That happens in the next couple of weeks as well. So all of that is in this current fiscal year. So we could be, like I said, it's $700 million, I know for sure. It could be up to $1.3 billion. That is out of the state general fund operating budget, which is just under $17 billion. It's around $16 to $17 billion. So I'm not talking about cutting $1 billion out of our $41 billion budget, because that includes federal funds and cash funds, so other funds. This is in our general fund operating budget. So we're going to have to make cuts. And as I explained to the judicial branch the other morning, I understand that access to justice is important to everyone in the state of Colorado, but so is education, so is providing for health care. I mean, we have 25 counties in our state that are maternal health care deserts. I just want everybody to think about that as well. We're in Colorado. This is 2025, And we have places in our state that don't provide any maternal health care. That's just wrong. And so, we're looking to cut, everything in my mind, except for education, is on the table. We have to find
that's
K-12 constitutional mandate.
That's kind of what I heard yesterday, at least on the House side. And my apologies, I haven't gotten over to listen to the speeches on the Senate side yet. But it seems like education was something that they just weren't going to move on. But speaking of education, the kind of full day pre-K or kindergarten, that was a lot more expensive than the governor originally proposed, right?
Well, and it's not the kindergarten. That stuff happened, and it was more expensive than what the governor proposed. But that happened 3 or 4 years ago. We're talking about universal preschool, where the governor keeps telling everybody you have free universal preschool, which implies to people who have 3 and 4 year olds that means free all day preschool. That is not what passed at on the ballot. It was an additional 10 hours. So what has happened in the new Department of Early Childhood that was just created in the last couple of years, hence the over expenditure that we've had, year over year over expenditure is what's going on here. They received through the ballot initiative, I think that was Prop EE. We've increased our funding to early childhood, to preschool, more than doubled it. So in 2022, I believe is the right year, we were spending about $128 million on our Colorado preschool program. Now we spend $350 million, and we don't have as many kids in full day preschool. And it's been riddled with problems. This is the area where the school districts sued the governor and said, you're screwing up this program. You've screwed up the preschool program. Early childhood care facilities are like, what the heck's going on? We're going out of business because we told we had to save slots. We don't have the kids in those slots. It's a mess. So that's just one of these departments that was just created. And we've got severe problems there in that department with how they manage it. We are not serving the same amount of full day preschool kids. And it's hard to get exact data because they've changed things around, changed the number of hours, what equals full day from, is it 30 hours? Is it 25 hours? But the bottom line is, those numbers that we're comparing to when it was the Colorado preschool program, that was just in public school. Now this is supposed to be provided in private providers and public providers, and we're still not serving as many kids, and we more than doubled the amount of money going towards it. Doesn't make sense in my book.
It doesn't either in mine. Talking with Senator Barbara Kirkmeyer, Senate District 23. So how is that the case? Where's the money going? If all of a sudden we've gone from 128 million to 350 million, but we have fewer kids in the program. And I also hear that enrollment in government-run schools is dropping, yet it seems like we're spending more and more money on public education as well. So help me understand all this.
That's what I'm trying to understand. So we have, and I'm on the Joint Budget Committee, so I'm one of 6 members of the General Assembly that writes the state's budget. So there's only 6 of us there, but it's the legislative responsibility to write and pass a budget that is balanced. Obviously, we're not balanced right now, but we have briefings with our JBC staff, and then we have hearings with the department. And I'm asking them for the data, like how many kids are you serving now? How many kids that are in IEP programs, so special education programs, children that need additional resources? How many children are we actually serving? How many are we serving a full day? So, 25 hours or 30 or full week, kind of a full day deal. So it's either 25 hours or 30 hours a week. And I'm like, how many kids are we doing that with? They can't even give us all the numbers. So I'm like, well, no wonder they're having an issue. But here's the other part in this department that's just another problem, is because of rule changes, we moved over the federal child care program. It's called CCAP. We moved it from the Department of Human Services over to the Department of Early Childhood. When we moved it over, we were serving about 10% of the kids that are eligible. So think about children that are in foster care. Think about children that are truly low income. We were serving about 10% of the kids eligible in the child care program. Now this year, we're going to drop it down to 5%. So I don't know what this department is doing, but clearly they don't know how to manage money and they don't know how to manage these programs.
Talking with Senator Barb Kirkmeyer. So yesterday the Senate kicked off. Give us a sense of what the priorities coming from both a Democrat-led Senate and what Republicans plan to do in the Senate as well here in Colorado.
Well, it sounded to me like the priorities from the Democrat-controlled Senate. So there in the Senate, we have 35 senators. 12 of us are Republican. So 12 out of 35 are Republican. So we are not in a super minority. So yay, good news there. Bad news is we're 12 out of 35. So the Senate Democrats, from what I gathered from the speech of our new president, who is Senator James Coleman from Denver, and he's a great guy. I respect him. I like him. He's usually very good about trying to work across the aisle and really work and talk to the whole body, not just the Democrats. But we'll see how that goes because he's in a new role. And like I said, I like Senator Coleman. And we agree on a lot of things. We don't agree on everything. But yesterday it sounded to me like we're going to have more gun control from the Senate Democrats. He talked about apparently Senator Sullivan has introduced a bill that will ban semi-automatic guns, no matter what they are, something of that nature. I've not read the bill, so don't anybody quote me on that.
No, that's what we're hearing from groups like RMGO too. Is like your basic semi-automatic handgun is going to be banned. It's crazy.
Exactly. So, so it's the same old story. It sounds like we're going to get more regulation. I know from the budget hearings that the Department of Transportation, so the governor administration, this is Jared Polis, is saying, look, we're going to create some more enterprises, which I'm not a big fan of enterprises. I mean, I know they have their role, but an enterprise is basically a government-run business type thing, and it's outside of the budget. It's not transparent, it's not accountable, and it's led by a bunch of bureaucrats. So they want to create a new enterprise that would put a 3-cent gas tax or a sales tax essentially on specialty fuels, which AKA is diesel fuels. So that will hurt our freight industry, moving services, it will drive up costs, and it will truly hurt rural Colorado and our agricultural economy and the people who do business in agriculture. I mean, things like that. So they're thinking of ways to increase fees, and again, which is just another form of taxation. I didn't hear anything about cutting regulations. They keep talking about affordable housing, and we've got a lot of issues there. Instead of working on the things that we can work on as a legislature or as an executive branch, so AKA the governor, they want to keep messing around in local government affairs. And, they need to just stay out of that and do what we can do, which is really make sure that we have a health department that isn't behind on permitting for wastewater treatment facilities. Because you know what, last I checked, if we can't expand wastewater treatment facilities in our state, that puts a big, huge hamper on trying to build affordable housing or build any kind of housing. So, we've had issues in the state health department where their water quality lab, that tests our water, they now have had 2 chemists who haven't been following the rules. And we've got all these examples of where water quality is not being tested in our schools, in our communities, things of that nature. So how about we get rid of the red tape in the executive branch, in the administration, where they've piled on these additional rules, where they've piled on additional regulations. Didn't hear any of that from the Democrats, so to speak. It was just their same old, we're here for the hardworking people of Colorado, but we're going to increase how much it's going to cost for you to have to live in Colorado. That's what I heard. From Senator Paul Lundeen, who is our minority leader in the Republicans, he got up and actually talked about what we're going to do as Republicans in the Senate. We've got bills that we're proposing, that we're bringing forward, that we hope will eliminate up to $4,500 if we can get Democrats to agree with us. We need 6 of them, but eliminate $4,500 of fees and overburdensome regulations and taxes that have been placed through legislation on the people of Colorado. So that's what we're doing. We're trying to, again, improve your quality of life and basically make Colorado affordable to live.
Talking with Senator Barbara Kirkmeyer. She represents Colorado Senate District 23, sits on the very powerful Joint Budget Committee as Colorado grapples with being $1 billion off on its budget. She is going to be the one there holding the Democrats accountable. You got to follow her on X. One of her accounts is Sen Kirkmeyer. That's SENKIRKMEYER. This is all going to matter to us And thank God we have good fighters down at the Colorado State Capitol, like Senator Barbara Kirkmeyer. Thanks so much for taking time to join us on the Jeff and Bill Show.
Yes, thank you.
Thanks for having me. And hey, let's go Colorado. Let's keep fighting.
Have a great day. Thanks.
Thank you, Senator. Speaking of good fighters, I want to talk to you about my friend Dan Caplis with Dan Caplis Law. I've known Dan for well over a decade. He's pro-life, pro-family, and pro-America. That matters because who you choose to represent you is going to send a message to everyone involved in the injury case that you're involved with, right? So you hire somebody because you saw their picture and name go by on a bus billboard. Well, that sends a message. And you want to work with somebody that's with you on what you believe, your core principles. That's Dan Caplis. He's the son of a police officer and a former seminarian who's dedicated the last 40 years of his life to helping people who are hurt in motor vehicle crashes. Dan is also believed to be the only lawyer in Colorado history to win 5 straight multi-million-dollar verdicts in Colorado crash cases. Dan is also believed to have won the largest truck crash verdict in Colorado history. He's a real winner in the courtroom. Dan Caplis Law, the official law firm partner of the Denver Nuggets and the Colorado Avalanche. In fact, they're so trusted that those teams trust Dan Caplis Law. Dan Caplis Law, a serious firm for serious cases. And you might be asking yourself, can I afford him? Well, don't worry. Dan accepts righteous injury cases on a percentage fee basis so that he can represent good people from all walks of life without regard to ability to pay. So if you need Dan's help, give him a call. Here's the phone number, 303-770-5551. That's 303-770-5551, or hit dancaplisLaw.com. That's Dan, C-A-P-L-I-S law.com. We'll continue with the Jeff and Bill Show.
This is Denver's talk leader, News Talk 710 KNUS.
At this hour, I'm Christina Aguayo in Dallas, and here are your top stories. The mayor of Los Angeles, Karen Bass, cut funding to the fire department by almost $18 million just months before the deadly fires started blazing through California, destroying everything in their path. The records show that the massive decrease in funding for the fire department was the second largest cut that Bass made in the 2024-2025 fiscal year budget. Bass originally wanted to cut fire department funding by a whopping $23 million. Meanwhile, residents in California who are losing everything are furious at the mayor who was in Africa for the inauguration of Ghana's president when the fires broke out. People taking to X calling Bass useless and calling for her resignation. Others pointing to the lack of water in fire hydrants and calling Bass an embarrassment to the country. ExxonMobil has filed a federal defamation lawsuit against California Attorney General Rob Bonta and several environmental groups. The filing comes months after Bonta sued the oil and gas giant, alleging that it deceived the public by promising the plastics it produced would be recycled. Exxon says in its suit that Bonta and the groups conspired to defame the company with statements regarding the efficacy of its plastic recycling technology. The company is seeking damages for losses and retractions of defamatory statements. That's what you need to know at this hour. In Dallas, Christina Aguayo, Salem News Channel.
Welcome back to the Jeff and Bill Show. Great conversation with Barb Kirkmeyer about what kicked off down there at the Colorado State Capitol yesterday. Hold on to your wallets, people. It's going to get bad. Let's go to the phone lines. Regina. Good morning, Regina. What's on your mind?
Good morning. I've been in the insurance business for over 30 years, and I wanted to talk about what's going on with the fires, California, their Colorado Fair Plan, or their California Fair Plan. So right now, the estimated losses are at $10 billion with this fire. And the California Fair Plan was developed because so many non-renewals, I think most people know about it, they've read about it, due to the fire, you know, the mountainous areas. And I think they're insuring close to way more than what they budgeted. So my concern is with these losses, one, it affects all of us nationwide because cat losses are at an all-time high. I think I heard the tornado talking this morning, and it's true. And you add this to it, it's going to be disastrous for California. I don't know what's going to happen. And I mean, it's terrible. I mean, loss of lives, loss of homes, but you're talking about fire mitigation. And it's true, they haven't been doing anything. Southern California, I've lived there. My husband's work took us there for 4 years. And it's a desert climate. They get maybe a ½ inch more than what the Mojave Desert gets. They allow lawns. They allow pools in every backyard. We've been in negotiations with them for 3 years. It's locked up. The federal government's probably going to have to step in. They want more water from us, and they're doing nothing about conserving water in their own state.
Now, Regina, I got a question for you. Given your experience with insurance and cat losses, part of what the insurance company is going to look at is mitigation around these homes. People that are in the mountains and even the rural areas, and Jeff probably experiences as well on the Hunt family ranch, that if you have certain brush that is not tended to, if you have trees that are too close to your house, those are mitigating factors when the insurance company is going to cut you a check. It's the idea
right now they won't even insure you if you don't have mitigation in Colorado. In California, I don't know. The insurance companies waited a long time to start non-renewing, but the state should have been doing a lot of this. Like you said, the brush and everything else. We do controlled burns in Colorado all the time. There's going to be, I live in Meade. I live on a farm. They're doing a controlled burn up in Lyons. I think it's today or tomorrow. They do it all the time.
Now, how does this dovetail with what we're seeing like in Florida as far as the hurricanes? Because in Florida, for our listeners that may not be as up on it as you are, they have had numerous insurers pull out of the state. The state had to create their own insurance pool, and that is now going bankrupt because they can't charge high enough rates and they're paying out too much. So soon inside of Florida, it's going to be nearly impossible for a middle-aged family or even someone that is fairly well off to afford any sort of home insurance. Are we going to see that happening in areas like California where these wildfires are happening on the regular?
Well, they already have in California. They have the California Fair Plan, and Colorado adopted it. They're going to do it here. My daughter works in personal lines with high net worth clients, and it's becoming difficult. Right now, if you have a home with no full-time fire department, in Colorado, I'm sure it's the same in California. If you don't have a full-time fire department and you have insurance now and you go to sell your home, in some areas you cannot because the buyers cannot get insurance.
Wow.
And it's already happening in Florida.
Regina,
there are people that
I appreciate the call.
Thank you so much. Thanks, Regina. That was
have
insightful.
That insurance expertise. This is going to be a really, really big problem for California.
Now, here's the thing that's interesting that I'm hoping, I don't have any faith in it, but I'm hoping that this is where the market pressure will begin to change things in places like California, that if the average homeowner can't get home insurance, maybe then the state starts stepping in and looking at things like prescribed burns, stuff like that, and going, oh, we need to do some mitigation to make sure that when these fires start, we're doing our part as well. Homeowners have some responsibility,
right?
But I think the state also has some responsibility on, and I'm wondering if the pressure will be there. I have little faith that it's going to be there, but I'm hoping.
Give us a call. Join the conversation. 303-696-1971. You're listening to The Jeff and Bill Show.
This is Denver's Talk Leader News Talk 710 KNUS.
I'm Christina Wyo in Dallas, and we have breaking news coming in the Salem News Channel. Canadian Prime Minister Justin Trudeau has resigned as leader of the Liberal Party. Trudeau I'm Christina Wyo in Dallas, and we have breaking news coming in the Salem News Channel. Canadian Prime Minister Justin Trudeau has resigned as leader of the Liberal Party. Trudeau has been the Prime Minister of Canada for 9 years and the leader of his party for 11. He faced growing pressure from his own party's lawmakers to step down and faced numerous crises, from the resignation of key allies to disastrous opinion polls and even tariff threats from President Donald Trump. Trudeau is widely expected to lose the general election that will be held later this year, with his resignation being seen as the prime minister choosing to leave before being pushed out. President Donald Trump is expected to grant clemency to more than 1,000 January 6ers as Congress gets set to certify Trump's victory in the 2024 election. 4 years after thousands of people took to the Capitol to support Trump and protest what they called a, quote, rigged election, the events of January 6th have become a campaign center point for the Democrats, and hundreds remain in jail. Trump will be back in the White House in 2 weeks, at which point many expect him to fulfill his promises of swift clemency for the 1,000-plus people convicted and hundreds more with pending cases. Pardons early on will set the tone for Trump's plan to eliminate political persecution. This year's January 6 election certification has been designated a national special security event, which will be overseen by the Secret Service. In Dallas, Christina Wyo, Salem News Channel.
Welcome back to the Jeff and Bill Show. Let's go back to the phone lines. Dwayne, hi, good morning.
Good morning, gentlemen. Such a rich set of targets today to chat about.
Yes.
I've seen so many different things. As far as tornadoes go, Colorado had one 25 years ago, about 19 miles from where I am. Came through at about 8,800 feet, tore up a bunch of trees, made everything look real bad, kind of like a redhead coming in on a bad weekend. But we've had tornadoes up at this altitude. So we have that. As far as mitigation goes, Jeff, you were up here earlier for your Christmas tree, and I hope you had a wonderful holiday. Bill, you as well. But the BLM, not the other people, but the ones Bureau of Land Management, they came through and cleared out all trees and anything that was there, beetle kill and whatever. And well, it looks as sparse as the hair on my head, but across the street where it isn't forest land, it's nice and thick like the hair on my back. So I like to see the mitigation happen as far as the young lady beforehand, as far as insurance goes. My neighbor has goats, so he comes through and I let his goats go through and chew everything. I have one branch that hangs over the house, and I haven't had the nerve to climb up to cut the branch off yet because it's about 18 inches around. But my deductible this year was $20,000 for me to even get insurance, and it tripled in price.
Ouch. Ouch.
Holy cow. But for me to hold insurance, because the home will be Little Man's in the future, I have to make sure it's staying here and everything. And I've just gone through, just put new wiring in, everything else. I can't afford not to sit there and keep that, but I have to now put $20,000 into another trust so that for whatever happens in an annuity, at least it'll continue to grow. So we have what we need. Insurance has become crazy because there's a lot who cannot afford it, and they're not mitigating. And, you got out here, you got a trailer, you got 90 people living in it, and all you need is one good boom. And next thing you know, we're sitting here going, it's going 3 football fields a second.
Yep.
And that fire doesn't stop.
Yeah.
Now, Dwayne, what do you do with the idea that as far as an insurance model, that it's kind of because I like the way you think, it's kind of a backwards way that we think about business. If you would open a restaurant or a movie theater or anything else, a normal business, you would want to draw people into your business. The more people that come in and eat at your restaurant, the more profitable you're going to be. But in insurance, the exact opposite's true. The more people that show up at your insurance office and need help and need you to write checks, the less profitable you are. Is it a problem that we have functioning in our society that our insurance companies make more money by preventing you from using their service?
There's something to that. Now, 15 years ago, when I was driving one of my little cars, I have a little Subaru that I drive, and it was $48 a month, and I had all the big coverages because you don't want to go short on that stuff. I mean, just get to 300,000, get everything, because you hit an Lexus, you're paying. And now I'm paying 125. I've had no accidents. I've never had a DUI. I've never had a speeding ticket of any kind. My driving record is so clean that when I was hired by one place, they had to go down to the license bureau to see the paper come out that I did not forge it, showing that I had no issues on my license.
Yeah.
Because they couldn't believe that somebody driving as long as I have. I've put 2 million miles on this road.
And you're not rewarded for that. And that's kind of the problem, Dwayne, is you're not rewarded for that. Hey, I appreciate the phone call. Thank you. He's not given less rates or anything else or a break because he's been a good driver. They go up every year, just like everybody else's.
We'll continue. Ted Trimpa is up next. You're listening to The Jeff and Bill Show.
This is Denver's talk leader. We are 710 KNUS.
this Thursday, January 9th. Good morning, Denver, Colorado.
You've tuned into the Jeff and Bill Show, News Talk 710 KNUS. I'm your co-host, Jeff Hunt, along with Bill Thorpe, bringing you the freshest insights, hottest takes from the right, left, and center. Congratulations. I know it's snowy and cold, and the traffic's terrible, but you are heading to work or school in the greatest country in history. We're off and running. We got a whole hour planned for you of engaging discussions, critical analysis, but most importantly, your phone calls and texts, because this is where Denver's voice is heard loud and clear. So grab a cup of coffee, Denver, and let's dive into the issues that matter most to you right here, right now.
Hey, Jeff, I got to interrupt just for a second here.
Yes, sir.
I got a question for you. Mark Crowley and I were just playing a game behind the scenes of who does Kamala Harris's husband look like? Now, I think Mark wins. He says meteorologist Dave Frazier here in town. Looks like Dave Frazier. I'm like, he does. Much better. Much better. So we might have to do that later. Let's talk about who you think Kamala Harris's husband looks like.
That's because on the news right now, you can watch the funeral services for former President Carter.
Yeah, and she looks awful, doesn't she, Kamala? She looks like she's aged about 6 years.
Not recovered.
No, not at all.
And I don't blame her.
Oh, I don't either. It's got to be hard.
When I was part of the Romney team in 12,
yeah.
It was 6 weeks that I just disappeared. We went to California because when you're at that level, it's 24 hours, 7 days a week.
Yeah.
And you're so committed. You're desperately trying to get across the finish line and win. But no, she's not happy. And she's sitting right in front of Donald Trump talking to Barack Obama.
I know. So that's got to be a little difficult.
Barry and Don.
Yeah. And you know that, and you know, she walks into that room and sits around with, with Biden and Clinton and Trump and stuff and Obama, that she's thinking, I had $1 billion. I raised $1 billion and I couldn't beat this guy. I know. We all have frustrations. We all have pains that we deal with in our life. And I would take a moment here on the Jeff and Bill Show to talk to you about an organization that has taken away the pain in my life. No, it wasn't a bunch of duct tape to put over my mouth so I can stop talking. No, it was actually the personal, physical pain that I had been living my life in for years. I thought that as you get older, that's just what happens. I've got a broken shoulder. I've got a really bad lower back, and I tore the meniscus in my left knee a number of years ago. And that's in addition to numerous stitches, other surgeries, and broken bones. There's a long list of physical things that I did as I was a kid. As my dad said, I had an underdeveloped sense of fear, and that led me to make some calculated decisions. But it turns out I'm bad at math, so things did not go always very well, and I'm paying for it now. Used to be that I'd wake up in the morning and it was just how bad was it going to hurt? Getting up and out of bed sometimes was difficult. There were times my back wouldn't warm up for 15 or 20 minutes, shuffling around the house. You feel me? Yeah. I know you're going through that same pain. It might not be exactly like mine, but you're living your life in that daily pain. I've got the solution. My friends at Balance Wellspace. Check them out today at Balance Wellspace. BalanceWellspace.com. They have brand new offices in Lowry, right across from Hangar 2. And plenty of parking. Here's the difference. Balance Wellspace specializes in integrative medicine. That means there are a whole bunch of different treatments you can experience in their office in one visit. Chiropractic care, trigger point injections, regenerative care, wave therapy, neuropathic care, physical rehabilitation, and a whole bunch of just cutting-edge Star Trek level stuff that's got blinky lights and things that's got to be seen and experienced in order to be believed. But the cool thing is, it's all non-invasive and it's non-surgical. It's about maximizing your body's ability to heal, along with some really cool sciencey stuff. What they've done for me is taken away all the built-up scar tissue in my bum right shoulder. When the weather was changing here, I used to ache for about 24 hours. It was a horrible, deep joint ache. You know, the ones that go deep inside your joint, not on the surface, and that pain that keeps you from sleeping properly. I used to have that. I couldn't even tell the weather was changing in this last snowstorm. That's how good their treatment has been. I'm regenerating the disc in my lower back, to my vertebrae were fusing together. No longer anymore. I now have more movement and more ability in my lower back that I haven't had since probably mid-30s. This is ridiculous. I'm out there doing the snow shovel-y thing just a couple of days, just yesterday and day before, and my back didn't hurt. None of the tingling, none of the sciatica, and my left knee that's got the bum meniscus also held up great because they're helping me regenerate the meniscus right now as we speak. That's the kind of amazing treatment you can experience at Balance Wellspace. But the other thing that makes them different is the fact that they evaluate your pain, talk to you about your goals, and then reevaluate where you're going based on the treatment. You may have a couple of doctors working with you right now. You travel across the city, you take some time out of your day in order to visit them. but are they talking together about you? Last couple of weeks, last couple of months, did they get together? They exchange emails, text messages, Zooms, carrier pigeons, anything about your care to make sure that they are both working together and rowing in the right direction? They didn't. That's the difference at Balanced Well Space. The medical team gets together regularly and discusses you. Shouldn't it be that way? Shouldn't your doctor's office take a time to sit down and evaluate where your pain is and what they can do to get you better? That's what they do. They'll reevaluate, easy for me to say, reevaluate you every couple of weeks and come back in and tweak things that aren't working and enhance things that are working. When they saw the difference it was making in the Synexus, the little electronic massage thing that I was having, they leaned into that. I got a couple more sessions than what I was scheduled for because of the difference it was making in loosening up the tight muscles around my lower back. That fusion that I was talking about earlier, my muscles were tightening, coming together in striations and preventing me from moving because my muscles were trying to prevent me from further injuring my back. Sometimes the pain you're experiencing is really related to other stuff that's going wrong in your body. Talk to my friends at Balanced Well Space. They'll set you up with a personal pain evaluation, and then you guys go down the menu and you go to work. By the springtime, you could be doing things you never thought possible, stuff you haven't done in years, but you got to take the first step today. Reach out to them, Balanced Well Space, balancedwellspace.com, balancedwellspace.com. Give them the opportunity to make a difference in your life, just like they have in mine. I know they can do it. And when you reach out to them, tell them you heard about them here on the Jeff and Bill Show, because it sure does help us out as well, and we appreciate it. Thank you.
That's great to hear, Bill. By the way, text messages coming in. Doug looks like Jared Polis. No, Doug is much better looking than Jarhead Polis.
Yeah, although I get it with the, he's rocking the 5 head. And, not the 4 head. He's got a 5 head. And I can say that because I'm losing my hair, too. So I'm getting closer and closer to that.
The advanced hair restoration.
We're going to talk about that, my friend.
Oh, yeah, we're watching. This is always fascinating to me to see them all together, especially knowing. Yeah. So today is the funeral of President Carter, and you have the Clintons, you have the Bushes, you have the Bidens, you have Kamala Harris, you have the Obamas. And you have Donald Trump and Obama sitting right next to each other.
Yeah.
There's no Michelle. No Michelle at this funeral.
Nope, she's not there.
But
looks like everybody's spouses in there, though.
So I where I'm torn on it is they seem to hate each other so much.
Yeah.
Publicly, and then they spend time together.
Yeah, and they're not like Ellen is grooming each other. And honestly, there's part of me that thinks if we would return
so real.
Yeah, if we return to that era 30 years ago in Washington, where you can disagree on policy, but because our kids are playing on the same soccer teams, because we go to the same gym, because we can hang out and have lunch together, that it doesn't become as personal. It's not as much about, okay, we can negotiate and I can give you some stuff, but you understand what's important to me, so I can get some stuff from you. Sometimes I wish we'd return to more of that era. I think it might help. Sometimes.
Good old days. Well, we've got Ted Trimpa coming up in just a little bit. We're going to be talking an article in Slate. Yeah, an article in Slate about the nature of populism and how did the Democrats lose it in this last election and what do they need to get it back? Ted will be joining us. But first, news and comment with Blake Olson. Good morning, Blake.
Hey, thanks, guys. By the way, they're not passing around envelopes to the deep state members, are they? Are you watching the funeral?
Yeah.
Haven't seen it so far.
You haven't seen it so far? So I want to see, because that envelope never made it to Trump.
Right.
Bush, Clinton, Obama. So keep an eye on that.
So I'll tell you this. So looking at it now on Fox. All right. George W. Bush, he's looking really old. He's looking older than Clinton.
Is he?
Yeah.
What?
So he's looking older. And then Kamala just doesn't know what to do with her life next. She doesn't have that hope of like, well, I'm going to go back and be the next governor of California or anything like that. She's just, and then this is classic. Okay. Donald Trump, he's talking to everybody. He's looking around. He was the kid in high school that just sat in the back of the class, didn't really want to be there. Was there, it's a nice thing to get there, but he's gonna have fun. He's gonna tell some jokes. He looks like he would be the guy I would absolutely want to sit next to.
Yeah, He's gonna have some fun. He's gonna shoot some rubber bands.
He's talking to him. He's talking to Obama again right now. Nobody else is talking, and then Obama just laughed.
There you go. Even Obama, even the commie loves Trump. I love it. I gotta watch
Dude,
this,
that was
man.
perfect timing. We're talking about how DJT's the guy in the back of the classroom talking jokes in the midst of a very serious thing, and he does it just to Obama, and even Obama's laughing.
That's funny,
I love that
man.
guy.
Yep, same here. You can't get over it. You Trump derangement syndrome people. 24 with more snow in Denver, expecting a high of 31 today. Our top story: Colorado Senator Barb Kirkmeyer, District 23, on with Jeff and Billy last hour. WTF? We're paying the lieutenant governor twice? Really? You can't make this up. There's a law that says the lieutenant governor also heads up the Office of Saving People Money. Garbage.
This Office of Saving People Money, which is kind of a joke. I mean, I'm just going to say it is. I'm not exactly sure what they do there either, but passes this executive order and says that the lieutenant governor will be the director of the office, that she receives $93,360, and it has these things that she's supposed to be doing as the director of Office of Saving Money. So the Democrats decided, well, let's just turn it into a law. So this is a law now that she is, or the lieutenant governor is the director of the Office of Saving People Money, and they get $75,000 additional on top of their $93,360.
Goodness. Once again, time to make cuts.
Yeah.
Don't hold your breath. Colorado has sent resources to California to assist in fighting the devastating wildfires. There's also a growing list of fire departments that could be called for help if California needs reinforcements.
It could be a simple medical within the crews that are working, all the way up to, of course, the firefighting effort of protecting homes.
The Colorado Division of Fire Prevention and Control has sent a multi-mission aircraft outfitted with special infrared and color sensors that tell firefighters on the ground how a fire is behaving. 3 Castle Rock Fire and Rescue Department firefighters have made their journey to California as well, taking one of the department's trucks. Colorado Division of Fire Prevention and Control, MMA Unit Chief Jeff Rasmussen explains the importance of the multi-mission aircraft.
One of our advantages with the IR, the infrared camera, is being able to see through smoke. Obviously, that's a limitation folks have without that technology, and that's can be a pretty big barrier to knowing where exactly that fire.
Do you owe citizens an apology for being absent while their homes were burning? Do you regret cutting the fire department budget by millions of dollars, Madam Mayor? Have you nothing to say today? Have you absolutely nothing to say to the citizens today? Elon Musk says that you're utterly incompetent. Are you?
And that is a Sky News reporter doing his job, trying to get a quick soundbite from the mayor of L.A. on Wednesday. Karen Bass arriving at the airport as part of the city burns to the ground. 5 people are dead. And then Bass, who cut $18 million to the city's fire budget, had a news conference, and she reads this script.
Again, this is an active situation. And conserve water to the extent that you can. We want to make sure that we are ready if we need more water. But make no mistake, Los Angeles will rebuild stronger than ever. Right now, if you need help, emergency information, resources, and shelter is available. All of this can be found at URL.
And then actor James Woods, who, yes, she said URL, and didn't put the website on there, the .com or .org. Wow. Actor James Woods lost his home, rips the fire chief, Kristen Crowley, and Gavin Newsom.
If it is true that things were handled this way, if it is true that Gavin Newsom is the absolute blithering idiot that I believe he is in the way he has handled fire management in this state again and again and again and again. This isn't a wake-up call. This is the kind of thing they have tribunals for, where they try people and say, you had an oath of office to perform certain duties. When you're the fire chief, this isn't a social justice exercise that you're in charge of. This is you getting water to areas that need water because there are fires in 100-mile-an-hour winds burning houses to the ground.
And DJT has been talking about this for years, talking about all the forest fires and fires in Southern California. And he blamed Governor Nuisance, nonsense on Wednesday. Nuisance was on CNN propaganda. Anderson Cooper embarrassed to ask him a question that he doesn't like. Come on, Anderson.
I hate to even ask this question, but the president-elect chose to attack you, blame you for this.
One can't even respond to it. I mean, it's people are literally fleeing. People have lost their lives. Kids lost their schools. Families completely torn asunder. Churches burned down. This guy wanted to politicize it. I have a lot of thoughts, and I know what I want to say. I won't. I stood next to a president of the United States of America today, and I was proud to be with Joe Biden. And he had the backs of every single person in this community. He didn't play politics, didn't try to divide any of us.
And as Jeff and Billy just mentioned, the president's former and present at the 39th president's funeral right now, Jimmy Carter. And we're expecting to hear the eulogy from Biden. Nuggets run past the Clippers 126-103 last night, and the Avalanche lose to the Blackhawks 3-1. And thankfully, college football returns tonight with the semifinals. Can Notre Dame knock off Penn State at 5:30? 22 in Parker, 23 in Lakewood, 24 in Denver. Be careful on your way into work today or school. It is Thursday. Jeff and Billy continue. Blake Olson, News Talk 710 KNUS.
Morning snow showers likely. Light accumulations. Watch out for icy conditions as winds will be strong, causing some blowing snow. Northwest winds of 15 to 35 miles an hour. Temperatures will be steady in the upper 20s today. Cold tonight. Lows 5 to 10. Areas of fog possible tonight. Friday, patchy morning fog. Sunny, cold 30s. Increasing clouds Friday night, lower 20s. It'll be mostly to partly cloudy Saturday and Sunday with a few snow showers and remaining cold with highs 30s, lows teens. Meteorologist Dante in the 710 KNUS Weather Center.
So when I was growing up, Billy, the Democrats were always the ones that were connected with the people. The Populist movement was the Democrat Party, and the Republicans were the rich country club folks. But this last election, things have been changing a little bit. No more Mitt Romneys. Donald Trump seems to have really appealed well to the blue-collar workers out there. And what are Democrats to do about it? Well, joining us for a fun conversation is the guy I call the brain, the strategist, who fortunately for me is on the other side of a lot of the things that I believe, but he's always willing, accessible, and I appreciate that. Ted Trimpa, Democrat strategist with the Trimpa Group. Thanks so much for being on the Jeff and Bill Show.
Good to be there.
Hey, good morning. Yeah. Last time I saw Ted, he and I were drinking on election night together.
Yeah, that's
Just
right.
saying.
You guys were here.
Yeah, that was fun. That was excellent. And thanks for joining us, sir.
So,
and guess what? I was drinking more.
I still remember there was one point, and it was off air, where I had mentioned something to Ted, and he goes, "Oh, really? I hadn't read that yet." And then he reaches for the wine again. Like, I got to refill this. That was my favorite moment of the entire evening.
Ted, you've got this blue island that Kyle Clark likes to talk about, and amidst this sea of red. So not too much to be upset about, but I want to talk to you about how Democrats are responding to the last election. You're part of some of these conversations. James Carville had an opinion piece in the New York Times just saying we got away from the economy, stupid. Billy and I were talking about this beforehand. I don't really buy into the idea of populism in the sense that it's this like group that needs to be appealed to. I think what you have are people on the right and the left that are deeply philosophical in their voting, but then you have a vast majority in the middle that just want to do what's best for themselves and their family. And they just move between parties based upon that. And I guess we could call it populism, but I think it's just the nature of winning an election. Whoever gets the most of that group does the best. In this case, Trump did. What do you think about that?
Oh no, listen, I completely agree. I wrote an op-ed about this, and it's not just we Democrats didn't connect with the working class, is that we just weren't connecting. I mean, it was something that I just used by way of an example. I realize plural of anecdotes, not data, but my family on the farm, Kansas farm, 5th generation, Trump flags everywhere, Trump stickers everywhere, Trump yard signs everywhere. And their attitude was, the guy connects with us. They kind of put aside the craziness and some of the stuff that he says, some of his nutty ideas. And there wasn't it there. It's kind of hard sometimes to define the it, but there was real connection. The economy was a big part of it, but, to see the numbers with Latino men, to see the numbers with Black men and how they really turned towards Trump, it's not just the economy. It's something that is much deeper than that. And I think some of that is Democrats' elitism. I think Democrats' wokeism. Democrats saying that you need to be a member of an alphabet soup group. And people just are getting tired of it. And I'm getting tired of it.
Talking with Ted Trimpa with the Trimpa Group. And Ted, that's why I think that the ad about Kamala Harris talking about sex change operations for illegal immigrants was so powerful, not because sex change was a big issue, or the culture wars were something I want to be fought over, but life is just really hard for people. Like, bottom line, it's just hard. And then you see like the fact that that's even occupying any part of her brain with all the challenges we're facing, portrayed Kamala Harris as just being out of touch. And I think that's why that ad was so effective.
Yeah, it was. It's unfortunate that transgender people all of a sudden become political bait in a campaign, and I would hope that wouldn't happen. I think that her campaign didn't really respond to this really well, because I am a transgender activist. I think that there should be gender affirming care. But the issue got used in such a way that, that community became political bait, and it's unfortunate, but it connected, and it connected in a big way. They wouldn't have kept running it if it wasn't connected.
Now, Ted Trimpa, Democrat strategist, joining Jeff and Bill live. Why do you feel the Harris campaign didn't confront that issue head on? I feel they had a couple of possible avenues to mitigate damage. They didn't choose them. Why?
They're scared. They're scared of offending part of the progressive left. And they just, honestly, I think they just didn't know what to do. And I think that was emblematic of a couple issues for the Harris campaign in terms of, going back and hitting back. Because the thing about politics, at least from my perspective, is they hit you with something. You have to hit back. Because if you don't, you're acquiescing in a way, implicitly, to what the attack is, or you're just being arrogant and thinking, well, that's not an issue. And I think there was a level of arrogance the Harris campaign, and I was one from the very beginning who said she wasn't going to win, because there was just the map. There was just no way she could for sure win Pennsylvania, Wisconsin, and Michigan. And if she didn't win all three of those, the other states she had to pick up, which would mean North Carolina and Georgia, it's just not going to happen.
And Ted, I wondered about the same thing. I kind of had this theory, because there are very talented campaigners within the Democrat Party, right? Gavin Newsom, Shapiro out of Pennsylvania, Jared Polis, and they all seem to kind of step back and let Kamala Harris take the lead. Was that because the orders were coming from the top down that she's going to be it? Joe Biden has picked her. Therefore, we're going to step back, or we're part of the calculations there. We can't win this year following 4 years of Joe Biden.
Well, I start with the premise that Joe Biden's the most selfish politician on the planet, thinking that he can run again after saying after his first election, I'm a transition president. And he gets in and gets the things of power, and you get used to it and you want it to continue. And I think it is extraordinary. I just self-centered. Then I think some of the senior staff around him, we were grossly negligent in not letting people know what the health situation was, and letting it take that long in order for some of them to convince him to drop out. So that's fact one that is really upsetting to me. The second is, I think the choice that they had was, go with the vice president Kamala Harris and not have a mess of a S.T show at the convention, where you're trying to figure out who the nominee is going to be, and you kind of don't know, and you kind of can't predict how this is going to play out. But it truly would be something where a convention, at last finally does pick the candidate. Going back to what conventions looked like in the late 1800s, early 1900s, and I think they're like, well, let's not risk that, and let's just go with what we thought we knew, and make the convention mainly a coronation.
Ted Trimpa, Democrat strategist, joining Jeff and Bill live. I want to talk to you a little bit about follow up on the idea of Joe Biden being selfish. I agree with you. He said he was going to be a transition president and then changed his mind. Why do you feel some of those senior staff members didn't raise the flag earlier about the problems Joe was having, and at the very least start leaking some of the stories to the press? What I'm wondering is, if we had those stories coming out earlier, would Biden have felt the pressure earlier and bowed out earlier? Your thoughts?
I think that, in your senior staff, you also get used to the power and you want to do that. I also think that there was a certain amount. Biden is really stubborn, and it was really clear internally this is what he wanted to do, and he's the president, so therefore that's what you do. And they didn't want to risk leaking it, getting his ire, and having that possibly affect their career. I just think there's some self-centeredness involved in it, and it's difficult for me to say some of this because a couple of these people are good friends. But it's really difficult to not raise this, to say that you should have said something, because you can't tell me that performance during the debate was not something that they saw a lot of. Because that isn't just one bad night. It's much more than that. So to answer your question, I think one, they like the trappings of power. Two, Biden was really stubborn, so they knew that they really couldn't step out. And three, they're worried about how this affects them in the longer term.
I think that's very insightful, the idea of protecting your career, because if you were found out to be the leaker or among the leakers, then you basically killed your career inside of Democrat politics. Nobody else is going to bring you into their administration. Now, I want to talk to you, Ted Trimpa, Democrat strategist and author of Turning Colorado Blue. I want to talk about the idea of choosing a nominee at the convention. Now, I want to get your pluses and minuses about going into the convention without a nominee, going in and picking it. Could that have created more momentum, or is the chaos more of a problem? Is it something like embracing, out of the WWE, a giant Royal Rumble that gets millions of people watching that all the time because everybody gets in the ring and beats the crap out of each other for 20 minutes? Why didn't the Democrats go with a Royal Rumble convention?
To them, it was more risk. So the folks who were risk adverse. And I also think there were some technical delegate questions, and when would the vote happen, and when could the delegates be released in order to, move on to picking somebody different. Now, there's a way through that. I mean, for people to say, well, that's the reason why we did it, that's just, for me, an unacceptable excuse. I think it was clearly a choice. Do we want something that's a rumble, and you put it, or do we want something that is a sure fit because we rigged it and make it more of a coronation. I mean, there were a number of us who said we should have done the Rumble because we had a number of candidates that would have been, extraordinary in terms of being nominees. I mean, we're not lacking of talent in our bench for somebody to run for president, for people to run for governor. Other people may disagree with me, but I think Democrats have a pretty good bench for a lot of our seats.
Talking with Ted Trimpa, the Trimpa Group. He's a Democrat strategist. All right, I want to talk about Colorado, Ted. Look, the election nationally went towards Trump, and then Colorado's like, yeah, we like Democrats. And it's not that Colorado has a lot of registered Democrats. It has a lot of registered independents that vote Democrat. Help me and our audience understand from your perspective as a Democrat strategist why that happens.
Well, first off, you're right. You point that out. Nearly half, and I bet probably by now, half of the electorate are registered unaffiliated, meaning I don't want to affiliate with any party. That doesn't mean they won't vote with the party. And right now, they're really voting on the Democratic side. And I think some of that is driven with inside the state politics. I mean, you want to find a circus, today's circus, watch the Republican Party of Colorado. I mean, it pains me a little bit because we need a healthy Republican Party to make a healthy, healthy Colorado, because we need that debate. But watching what's happening with the Republican Party, I pop popcorn every night and just sit there and eat popcorn and watch because it is an absolute zoo. And I think that affects, down ballot performance. And it also affects, because it's difficult to get good candidates to run because it's hard for them to survive their primaries.
I want to get your thoughts on my theory. My theory has more to do with kind of like the Democrats appeal to social issues, which were naturally libertarian. So Colorado's a naturally libertarian state, always has been. It's a Western state. Historically, if you were doing really well, in the 1800s, you stayed in Pennsylvania. But if you were striking out on your own, you were looking for new opportunities, you came west and you went to places like Colorado, and you didn't necessarily want a lot of government interference. And I kind of feel like the deal was made on the social issues, right? So Democrats come in and say, on commercialized pot, we'll let you have that. On abortion, we'll let you have that. And the libertarian voters of Colorado, they're more independent, went, all right, we like that. We'll go with that. Meanwhile, what they got was a lot of progressive social programs as well. And Republicans, I guess I'm just trying to figure out how we went from Colorado Springs, 1990s, like evangelical center of the universe, to now a totally blue state. And I feel like it was almost based off the social issues. I don't know. What do you think?
I have to disagree with that. I think that on some of the social issues, you have Republican support. I mean, I think the Republican electorate, I think, has evolved a little bit. Not to say that there isn't a really conservative Republican electorate that look at those issues much like how you look at those issues. But I think there's been a change there. And also, I don't think because of the social issues, there's going to be less of a vote for Trump, because I don't necessarily people buy that Trump is this evangelical right-wing conservative. Trump is a opportunistic, depending on the issue, Republican, and typically it's all about what he thinks, and it's kind of Trumpism rather than Republicanism. And I think it's more of that. I don't think the social issues motivate people that much. And it's definitely not the legislature that's its fault. Keep in mind that people voted on the reproductive rights issue and abortion issue. And people voted on the pot issue. They voted on the psilocybin issue. I think it's the people are there. And I don't think it's because of, the state legislative stuff.
Talking with Ted Trimpa, the Trimpa Group. All right. So the other day, Jared Polis talked about his key priorities: affordable, safe, and livable Colorado. I got to ask you, Democrats have to have some conversations happening in the background that some of the programs aren't working. Like I saw Denver Post the other day, 22% of restaurants are closing in the city of Denver. Affordability is getting harder and harder. Safety is not great. I mean, there's got to be conversations within the Democrat infrastructure that the policies aren't working, or we've got to change things up and we've got to get Colorado back on the right track. Give me a little bit of hope. Give me a little bit of hope, Ted, that they're doing something, because you guys have all the power. And there's got to be an honesty, right? That some of this isn't working.
Well, I think the first thing to point it out, I think there's two different tracks of what you're talking about. One is the governor's agenda. And the governor's agenda is, the big piece of it is about affordability. And no matter what you look at, whether it's transportation, whether it's healthcare, whether it's insurance, he's looking for ways to reduce costs. I mean, his mantra, I mean, that's part of the reason why he's for getting rid of the state income tax. I mean, to him, you know, the more money that's left in the pockets of Coloradans, the better. And that drives almost every decision that he makes. And some of the issues that you have mentioned in terms of, you know, maybe crime issues, maybe homeless issues, the effectiveness of some programs, some of that is more localized. And I think that people see, in terms of what Jared's trying to do, is statewide. Because I think statewide, you see crime going down, you know, a lot. I mean, those numbers are down. The affordability around healthcare has gone up. You know, he's, you know, putting stuff out that's addressing housing. And so I think that you can pick and choose places where some of these policies aren't working, but I think overall, in total, that it is. So I guess I just have to agree to disagree.
That's what we do. All right. Final question, Ted Trimpa. And by the way, I have respect for Ted because he's so good at what he does. I see him as the top opponent to some of the issues and policies and principles I want to push forward. And because he's so good, people are texting, why do you have Ted Trimpa on? Because I respect him, because he's so talented at driving his agenda. But I got to ask this. I think Gavin Newsom with these LA fires, I think he's done. I don't see him moving. Maybe I'm wrong. Maybe you think he could recover from this. But as far as the next emerging Democrat leader for president, where do you handicap it for me? Where do you see Shapiro? Where do you see Polis? The next folks that may want to run for president?
I put Polis in the top tier. I put Gretchen Whitmer for sure in the top tier. Those would be, and Shapiro in the top tier. You know, in the second tier, I put, you know, the Phil Murphys, the J.B. Pritzkers. I still think Gavin's going to have a great appeal. I really do. I do think the California piece is going to be something that may have some difficulty in terms of getting over. I think he'll be competitive. He personally wouldn't be my choice, but he's smooth. He's really good. But about the fires, I'm just not for sure that fires that's something that's going to stick. I mean, I think that some folks in your side of the aisle are being political opportunists, trying to take this issue to say, well, it was Republican, you know, it was Democrats' fault and it was Gavin's fault because, you know, they didn't clear out the underbrush. And can you imagine that that fire hydrants, you know, didn't have enough water? You know, that's ridiculous to use this as political bait, to use it as a political issue. We should be concerned about the fires, getting them out, helping the people, you know, because, you know, you're basically attacking firefighters, metro districts, water districts. You know, it's not the Democrats' fault that you had this huge fire and then all of a sudden you had moments when you didn't have enough water to fight it. I mean, it's just the reality of what can happen when you have a major disaster.
Ted Trimpa, Democrat strategist, joining Jeff and Bill live. Last thing that I've got, I want to give voice to a caller that ringed in off the air, couldn't hang on, but wanted to talk about the demographic shift in Colorado. And in your opinion, Ted, how much of that shift towards a blue state is because of some economic policies that allowed businesses to move here and bring their employees from other states? Meaning the influx of people that weren't necessarily native Coloradans a couple of decades ago has helped shift the landscape inside of Colorado. And have both parties been able to deal with it accurately and understand that demographic shift?
Yeah, to answer the first question, absolutely. I think that the influx of people have helped, because the influx of people, and it's from all over the country. This isn't just that influx of Californians, and a lot of that is because businesses moving to Colorado, and a lot of that's because somebody, like John Hickenlooper, and now we're seeing with Jared Polis, we're really, really active in trying to attract companies to Colorado, because when you look around, we have a great environment. The workforce that we have here, the weather that we have here, even the economic environment that we have here can be favorable to that. Now, with that said, I get worried about how far left Democrats are moving and how we can keep having the ability to attract those businesses. Because I think that, when you take a look at the state legislature, it is farther left, way farther left than what the Coloradan, public is when you look at polling. And, this is going to bite us in our backside at some point. And that's the reason why people like me and others have pointed out, we got to make sure that we got to keep in mind what Colorado is, keep in mind what the electorate is, keep in mind what it means to say you're Colorado and you have this type of business environment. Because right now in the city and county of Denver, it's next to impossible to open a restaurant. I mean, the regulatory structure, the permit structure is ridiculous. And you can ask any restaurateur, you can ask any hotelier who tries to do something like this, to get something open. It is pulling your teeth. And that one's going to bite us in the backside, because commercial, retail, commercial real estate downtown, we're going to have to figure out how to bring that back. Here, the eastern side of downtown, it is not a pretty place to be. Now, the western side is good. It's vibrant, but we have to do something for the businesses in downtown Denver, in my mind. And I do have to say, too, I love coming on, seeing Bill and seeing Jeff, because we have great discussions, and we may disagree on almost everything, but that's what we need more of. Not disagreement, but talking. Because through talking, we can figure out ideas and find out, every now and then it's like, oh, wow, we agree on something. Maybe that's what we should do. So I just want to do a shout out for the two of you to have me on, and to have the listeners listen to me. I thought about wearing red today and carrying my sickle.
It's okay. We'll get you a Che Guevara flag and put behind you for next time.
Yeah.
No, Ted, I sure appreciate it. You've always made yourself very accessible,
Yes.
and I've often look. I'm a Rick Santorum Republican, and Ted Trimpa is the brain behind the blue turn in Colorado. And so you can imagine where we are in policies, but there's a cordiality that I've always appreciated, and ability to back channel and talk, which is important. And I often see politics as being out on the sports field. Go out there and you go as hard as you can to win.
Yeah.
But afterwards, you don't necessarily have to demean each other. So I appreciate that.
And for our listeners that wonder why we bring Ted on, if you listen to the entire conversation this morning, he talked about the warts and inadequacies even inside of his own party. He pointed fingers at people that are friends of his. And just in that final conversation there was talking about how the Democrats have got out over their skis based on business regulation, and how that is constraining growth. And some of the problems that we are seeing in downtown Denver and elsewhere are a direct result of the over-liberalization of the policies. So that's why he comes to the table intellectually honest. He's not going to come here wearing a cheerleader outfit and tell us how everything's sunshine and puppies. And he was very critical of Kamala Harris in the campaign that she ran. That's why we bring him on. Yes, we may not agree on everything based on policy and politics, but he's intellectually honest and wants to have the conversation. Plus, he's just a really cool dude.
Well, there are people texting in that would like to see Ted and I get into an MMA match. So, maybe in the future.
What I would prefer is,
I can tell you, I would lose.
No, what we got to do is we got to go back to the old American Gladiators, put you guys on pedestals and give me those giant Q-tips. You do that and we can sell tickets.
Ted, I sure appreciate it. Ted Trimpa with the Trimpa Group. Thanks for being on the Jeff and Bill Show.
Oh, yeah. Happy to. See you guys.
Yeah. Say hi to your husband for us. We appreciate you.
All right. I will. Yeah.
By the way, what's his name?
Arash.
Arash is the producer of Gutfeld.
Yes, Gutfeld. So everybody that sits here and says that, Ted's this horrible, crazy liberal, he's married to a very conservative dude. And Arash, phenomenally talented and a really funny guy as well.
Yeah.
They are hilarious together, and it's fantastic. And they have those disagreements. But yeah, Arash is the producer of Gutfeld, one of the most popular conservative TV programs in America.
It's a funny
currently.
world.
Yes,
All
it
right,
is.
we are way late. You're
Way
listening
late.
to the Jeff and Bill Show.
This is Denver's Talk Leader News Talk 710 KNUS.
At this hour, I'm Christina Owayo in Dallas, and here are your top stories. President Donald Trump has been warning California Governor Gavin Newsom for years about the fire danger in the Golden State. In fact, just months ago on the Joe Rogan Show, Trump talked about the Californian Delta smelt controversy that prioritizes a tiny fish species over the safety of the people in California.
It's got a natural flow from Canada all the way up north of water, more water than they could ever use. In order to protect a tiny little fish, the water up north gets routed into the Pacific Ocean. Millions and millions of gallons of water.
Then, while in California, Trump also talked about how California officials refuse to manage their forests to prevent wildfires.
Could revert water up into the hills where you have all the dead forests, where the forests are so brittle. And you have all that water that could be used to, as water, what they call water flow, where the where the land would be damp, and you'd stop many of these horrible fires.
And shortly before Newsom became a governor, Trump shot out a fire warning.
Giving billions and billions of dollars for forest fires in California, there's no reason for those fires to be like they are. Old trees are sitting there, rotting and dry, and instead of cleaning it up, they don't touch them. They leave them, and we end up with these massive fires that we're paying hundreds of billions of dollars for.
That's what you need to know at this hour. In Dallas, Christina Owayo, Salem News Channel.
We went long with Ted Trimpa because it's not every day you get access to the brain that drove our state into a blue ditch.
Yeah.
From my perspective, I'm not a meanie.
Again, he was great though. He's fantastic at what he does. But yeah, I totally get the idea behind it. But
we'll get to the phone calls. But boy, are we late. You're listening to the Jeff and Bill Show.
This is Denver's Talk Leader, News Talk 710 KNUS.
I'm Christina Wyo in Dallas, and we have breaking news coming into Salem News Channel. Canadian Prime Minister Justin Trudeau has resigned as leader of the Liberal Party. Trudeau has been the Prime Minister of Canada for 9 years and the leader of his party for 11. He faced growing pressure from his own party's lawmakers to step down and faced numerous crises, from the resignation of key allies to disastrous opinion polls and even tariff threats from President Donald Trump. Trudeau is widely expected to lose the general election that will be held later this year, with his resignation being seen as the prime minister choosing to leave before being pushed out. President Donald Trump is expected to grant clemency to more than 1,000 January 6ers as Congress gets set to certify Trump's victory in the 2024 election. 4 years after thousands of people took to the Capitol to support Trump and protest what they called a, quote, rigged election, the events of January 6th have become a campaign center point for the Democrats, and hundreds remain in jail. Trump will be back in the White House in 2 weeks, at which point many expect him to fulfill his promises of swift clemency for the 1,000-plus people convicted and hundreds more with pending cases. Pardons early on will set the tone for Trump's plan to eliminate political persecution. This year's January 6 election certification has been designated a national special security event, which will be overseen by the Secret Service. In Dallas, Christina Wyo, Salem News Channel.
Welcome back to the Jeff and Bill 9 o'clock hour. We're going to get into the Laken Riley Act
that was passed recently in Congress, and all Republicans in Colorado supporting, all Democrats not, but it's going to need some Democrats in the Senate. Word on the street, Hickenlooper may come over. We'll get into it. You're listening to the Jeff and Bill Show.
We are Denver's talk leader. This is News Talk 710. What are those call letters? KNUS.
Welcome back to the Jeff and Bill Show. It's 9 a.m. in the Mile High City on this Thursday, January 9th. Good morning, Denver, Colorado. You've tuned into the Jeff and Bill Show. News Talk 710 KNUS. I'm your co-host, Jeff Hunt, along with Bill Thorpe, bringing you the freshest insights, hottest takes from the right, left, and center. Congratulations. You're heading to work in the greatest country in history. We're off and running. We're going to be diving into the Laken Riley issue here and the act that was passed out of Congress. All Republicans supporting, including some Democrats coming over, but all the Democrats in Colorado not supporting it. And the Laken Riley Act would require illegal immigrants that are arrested for things like theft to be on a detainer with ICE. So right now you have to do something pretty bad to be on a detainer with ICE. This would lower that threshold down to theft. And Democrats are concerned about due process. They don't seem concerned about the process that illegal immigrants took to get here, but they want to care a lot about the due process of us getting the illegal immigrants out of here, which just seems like a lot of hypocrisy to me, but we'll get into that and more. Let's check in first on the phones with Chris. Good morning, Chris. You're on the Jeff and Bill Show.
Hey, good morning.
Good morning. How are you guys doing?
Good. How are you? What's on your mind?
Good. Well, I was going to talk about the fires, but I just researched this Lake and Riley Act here on Grok or whatever, and one of the things that's being said by the ACLU is that it would undermine constitutional protections, particularly due process. So I guess my question is, do you have constitutional protections if you're not from here? And I'm Mexican. I'm just
no,
it's
a great question.
I don't think you do. I mean,
you do. You do. And here's the reason why.
I mean, I don't. Do you?
Yeah, you do. And here's the reason why. Let's talk about due process. If you're in the country legally or illegally, if you're a legal American resident and you go out and drive drunk and kill a bunch of people in a car because you hit them, you go through the criminal justice system. If you're an illegal immigrant and you do the same thing, you go through that same criminal justice system. Because you're in this country illegally or don't have citizenship doesn't mean that the officers that arrive there get to beat the crap out of you or shoot you in the head or do whatever they want. So everybody that is in the country is covered by the same basic constitutional protections, whether you are legal or illegal. Access to certain programs and things like voting and other stuff, getting access to driver's licenses, business loans, things like that, and even some educational opportunities are constrained if you're not a legal resident. But it would seem rather silly for a country that espouses freedom to turn around and say, but only for the people that have a certain card or are a member of this group. Understand?
Yeah, sure. I guess it's just, I worked construction when I first got out here, man. And it's very telling when, you have to have an interpreter on site, right? It tells you everything you need to know. I've worked with Venezuelans. I'm not saying they're bad people. I just think it's strange. I mean, it's almost like it's by design that we would allow people, the undocumented or whatever, to come in and then complain about all these problems.
Yes.
Yeah, and I was a business owner. I completely understand, but I guess doesn't that hurt Americans? Doesn't that hurt Coloradans, people who are actually from Colorado?
Now, here's the thing, Chris. You're right. Chris, you're right, man. You were right. It hurts Coloradans. It hurts Americans when you allow people that are undocumented to come in and take jobs. They're either going to be paid under the table or paid at a lower wage, and that's why they take those jobs. There's a great example of someone going out there and earning $100,000. If you were offered a $100,000 job right now and you were in America, there's some constraints, especially in Colorado at times. What sort of house can I afford? What about educational opportunities, etc.? But if you were coming here illegally from a third world country, that $100,000 is a gift because you're just going to go try to get into an apartment with 6 to 7 other roommates, and you're going to try to keep your costs as low as possible so you can funnel all the money back home. So there's an advantage to looking for that. You're right. And here's the difficult part about this, Chris. If you have your own construction company, Chris's construction company, and you can make more profit by employing the illegals, and there's no negative impact on your business per se, there are no fines, nothing like that, why would you ever go out and pay full price to hire an American? Because the economy and the business is telling you the smarter thing to do is to hire the illegals because you can pay them less and make more money. And that's why you were in business in the first place.
And that's why Carhartt is made in Guatemala, and it's $200 at Murdoch's or whatever. I just think it's funny. I mean, it's a paradox almost. I mean, I've been trying to understand this. I'm originally from Southwest Kansas, and so I mean, it's just a bunch of cows and Mexicans out there, and but then I look up like states like Nebraska, who are considered, in Iowa, also cows and Mexicans and corn, that are considered more efficient in terms of government and their taxpayer dollars. And it just seems like kind of like a slap in the face that we don't try to do more for small businesses instead of over regulating them. And in regards to the comments earlier to the restaurant industry out here, I mean, so many have closed down.
Yep.
And I mean,
But I mean, Chris,
it
to
really
that
is a shame.
to that point, I brought this up with Ted Trimpa just the last hour, who's the kind of chief Democrat strategist. I said, you know, is there any reconsideration taking place among Democrats at all with regards to the direction of the state, the safety issues, the affordability issues? He believes that we're actually improving things in the state, that things are getting better.
So.
I'm just sitting there going, I don't like people, you know, I'm getting text messages. You gotta be tougher on it. You gotta be tougher. But that's his worldview. He really thinks that things are getting better. And I'm by every metric that I know, it's not.
And California is not on fire.
Well, and I guarantee I was watching oh gosh, who was it that used to be on the talk show with Jimmy Kimmel? Adam Carolla. I was watching Adam Carolla, and Adam's like talking about how all of the Democrats, these deep blue Democrats, are going to now support conservatives because they're not going to get the building permits to rebuild their homes. They're going to see all the red tape.
Yep.
Sorry, I disagree. I don't think it's going to happen.
What is it?
They're so ingrained. And another thing I disagreed with Ted on was this notion that social issues don't drive it. Social issues are the issues. It's there's no Democrat that can look at our state and go, things are going great outside of the social issues. They're willing to sacrifice our crime, our housing, insurance costs, homelessness, businesses closed. They're willing to sacrifice all that in order to get their abortions. That's like the thing that drives them all, from my perspective.
As far as I know, Colorado was red up until 2008 when they voted for Obama.
Yeah.
I just don't understand why things can't be down the middle. I was an independent for the longest time. New York had a closed primary. Didn't know that. I was young, moved to Colorado, and I registered as a Republican. And I just hate having to have a label on things. How about we do what's best for Colorado instead of having a left side view, a right side view? Why can't everything be down the middle instead of an extreme on the left or right? That's what I don't understand.
Oh, there you go, being all populist, Chris.
I was going to say that puts you in the populist category.
You brought us a full circle, my man. It's fantastic.
Chris, great call. Thanks
Dude, you're
so
the
much.
best. Have a great day, man. Call us again. That was fantastic.
Chris from Lakewood. His line's open. Give us a call, 303-696-1971, 303-696-1971. Let's check in on news and comment with Blake Olson. Good morning, Blake.
Good morning, love, Chris, man. What a good new caller. I like that. We have had a couple of those this week, it sounds like.
Yes, we have.
Right? Really good callers.
Really
lately.
cool, yeah.
Some new voices. I love it. But Barney, keep on calling, please.
Oh, yes, please, Barney. Please.
I need
and
to
Joe
hear
from Arvada.
Barney. Yeah, and Joe. Yeah, absolutely.
Need me some Joe.
And my man Brian out there. Where is he?
Brian
Arvada.
Arvada too.
Yeah. I could go on and on.
No.
Jeez. And we heard from Mary and Cheyenne. Amen. 25 with more snow in Denver. Be careful on the roads. Expecting a high of 31 today. Our top story.
Hey. Right down.
For if we live and if we die unto the Lord.
I think that was Andrew Young, but not positive. Former President Jimmy Carter's state funeral is underway in D.C. The Georgia native died at the age of 100 last year. Now that we're in the new year, and will return to his hometown of Plains to be buried next to his wife, President Biden, delivering a eulogy coming up. DJT sat next to former President Obama. Melania was to DJT's left, but Michelle was not there. Clinton's, Biden's, and Bush's were there as well. Trump had a short conversation with Obama, and Barry nodding his head several times and smiling. They exchanged pleasantries. I think
Obama voted for Trump.
I think he did. I was thinking the same thing. It was amazing.
Did you hear the conversation with Ted where Ted's like, I mean, the chief Democrat strategist in Colorado knew Kamala wasn't going to win.
I did. I heard him say that quickly. Yeah. So he knew from the jump.
And I had that theory all along because I'm sitting there watching. It's the presidency of the United States, like the most the most aggressive self-promoters in the world want to become the president of the United States, right? It's the most powerful role. And all of a sudden, Shapiro, Polis, Newsom all step back, and they're just kind of like, yeah, Kamala, you go out and lose this one for us, right?
I felt it also, but I didn't want to jinx it, man. I wanted to treat her like she was the New England Patriots, man, and just a champion. You have to defeat the greatest, and yep, we were right, and so was Ted. Hey, the son of President Ford has upheld a deal his father made with Carter at Carter's state funeral. Stephen Ford recalled how the two men asked each other to deliver a eulogy at their funerals before proceeding to read the eulogy written by his father before he died. And former President Carter's grandson gave a reading to start the funeral this morning.
My grandfather always began by asking if anybody had been in his church before. My grandmother and I raised our hands and almost no one else did. And then my grandfather would poll the congregation. And we quickly find out that the church was full of people from all over the country.
All right, in Southern California, actor Steve Guttenberg, I loved watching this guy on the fires.
Everybody was trying to get out of there, and there was a poor man in a wheelchair, and there was a mother with suitcases, and people were having panic attacks and anxiety attacks. It was just terrible. Within, I'd say, 20 minutes, everything changed.
Wow. Colorado has sent resources to California to assist in fighting the devastating fires. There's also a growing list of fire departments that could be called for help if California needs reinforcement.
It could be a simple medical within the crews that are working, all the way up to, of course, the firefighting effort of protecting homes.
One of our advantages with the IR, the infrared camera, is being able to see through smoke. Obviously, that's a limitation folks have without that technology, and that's can be a pretty big barrier to knowing where exactly that fire is.
Colorado Division of Fire Prevention and Control, MMA Unit Chief Jeff Rasmussen, they're explaining the importance of the multi-mission aircraft. Let's see, what else do we have? We've heard everything this morning, and my computer just died. But James Wood upset at everyone. Don't blame him. He lost his house. James Woods, the actor. Sky News reporter tried to get information out of the mayor from L.A., Karen Bass. She wouldn't talk, and then hours later had a press conference where she read a script and then said you can find out all the information you need by going to URL. And did not mention the website. The drone footage of the fire is just horrific. Saw some of that video just minutes ago. It honestly looks like Independence Day, an old movie, Hollywood movie, or any movie that you've ever seen where you've seen a city just devastated. It's pretty amazing what the fire has done up to this point. All right, the Nuggets run past the Clippers last night, 126-103, and the Avalanche, they lose to Chicago 3-1 last night. And we have college football back in action tonight. The semifinals in the college football playoffs. Notre Dame tries to knock off Penn State at 5:30. Be careful on the roads this morning and this afternoon, and then on drive time tonight. 21 in Castle Pines, 23 in Wheat Ridge, 25 in Denver. Thursday, Jeff and Billy continue. Blake Olson, News Talk 710 KNUS.
Morning snow showers likely. Light accumulations. Watch out for icy conditions as winds will be strong, causing some blowing snow. Northwest winds of 15 to 35 miles an hour. Temperatures will be steady in the upper 20s today. Cold tonight. Lows 5 to 10. Areas of fog possible tonight. Friday, patchy morning fog, sunny, cold 30s. Increasing clouds Friday night, lower 20s. It'll be mostly to partly cloudy Saturday and Sunday with a few snow showers and remaining cold with highs 30s, lows teens. Meteorologist Don Day in the 710 KNUS Weather Center.
Well, what are you doing for your inauguration day to celebrate the dawn of the new golden age of America? Bill, what are you going to be doing that morning?
Oh, gosh. I think that myself and the rest of my crazy friends, like text messages calling me the crazy liberal, which I'm not. But I think what we're supposed to do is gather under the fresh moonlight in the forest, mostly naked, with candles, and then we're gonna burn some potpourri and dance around. I've never participated in this ceremony before, some sort of cleansing ceremony. I just said, as long as the wine is free, I'm there. So that we'll see what happens. I'm just hoping I don't get splinters.
It is a historic day, Monday, January 20th. And if you wanted to celebrate with an inaugural ball but can't get to Washington, D.C., well, good news for you. The Lincoln Club of Colorado is hosting the 2025 Colorado Inaugural Ball at the Marriott Denver Tech Center, 6 p.m. to 11 p.m. To give us some insight, it's friend of the show, Lynn Cottrell. Good morning, Lynn.
Morning.
Oh, hi, Jeff, Bill. Thanks for having me on.
Yeah, you bet. This sounds like a lot of fun. What's going to be happening that night?
We're so excited about this. We did it 8 years ago when Trump was elected, but this is even more historic, as I'm sure you can all agree. This is going to be very exciting. We're going to have, it'll be a 3-course meal. We're going to have dancing to a 19-piece big band, Mile High Big Band. They did it last time. We'll have a complimentary champagne host, cash bar, we'll have cocktail specials. I think we're going to have margaritas. Free event parking, live feed from the Washington, D.C. inaugural ball, so we'll be able to watch those going on. And we may have some video greetings from some special folks in D.C. We'll also have a Trump photo booth with Trump there. Actually, it's cut out. He won't be there. But and we were hoping, Jeff, you could be an MC, but Deborah Flora will do it with us, and we're excited to have her.
It is a ton of fun. And look, the hardest thing about going to Washington, D.C. for the actual D.C. inaugurations are the hotel costs. I mean, they're just astronomical. I saw that the Ritz-Carlton presidential suite was available for $20,000 a night. Some of the tickets to balls, I saw one ticket to a ball, inauguration ball, was $5,000. So most people can't do that, but you want to have fun because we're entering the new golden age of DJT in America, and why not kick it off? This is a great way here in Colorado. All you have to do is go to LincolnClubOfColorado.org. That's LincolnClubOfColorado.org. And is there any cost?
Yeah, we're trying to make it a break even. Right. Hotel costs are so expensive now, so it's $150 per seat, or a table of 10 for $1,500, or for premium seating, we get $250 a seat, or $2,500 for a table. And we're still looking for some sponsors. So if somebody's interested in getting in front of hundreds of people and promoting their business, we'd love to have them. They can give us a call. We have some mini sponsorships, like if someone wants to sponsor the bars or the decor or the parking or the band, those are all available. So we'd really appreciate that.
Now, it's always fun to hobnob with the political leaders, right? That's why a lot of people want to go to the inauguration in D.C., see Donald Trump and Melania dance, all that stuff. But again, $150 versus $5,000 for a ticket is a lot nicer. But are you going to have some political leaders there that people can meet and interact with?
I'm sure we will. I'm not sure who all they will be, but, we're running into many of them going back to D.C. like you. And so, Bill, when you're done, you put on some clothes after you get out of the forest and come on down.
Oh, that's great.
Bill at the inaugural ball. Well, this is great opportunity.
Here's the problem, though. Lynn, if I show up at the inaugural ball, the problem is that people there are going to piñata me. They're going to ply me with a couple of drinks and then string me up and then take turns hitting me with a stick. I'm not saying I wouldn't enjoy it. I'm just saying I may not be up for it that day, but I appreciate it.
Well,
that could be another part of our entertainment.
Hey,
anyway, there is a deadline for reservations this Sunday, so people have to hurry up. Yeah. There's still space available, but we think we're going to sell out. So 500 people, so hurry up and get your reservations in.
Now, Lynn, for either the organization you're working with here, or if we're looking at TAPS, I'm telling you, I'm willing to sit in a dunk tank to help you raise money. If I can publicly embarrass myself and help you raise money, I'm all in. All I got to do is call me. I'm there for you.
Oh, Bill, you better be careful. We might take you up on it.
Oh, please do. You again, I always tell my kids they don't understand the threshold of self-embarrassment in public. I have a really, really high threshold. I am all yours. You just let me know what you need to do.
You can attend the Lincoln Club of Colorado inaugural ball by going to lincolnclubofcolorado.org, lincolnclubofcolorado.org. Lynn, thanks so much for joining the Jeff and Bill Show.
And Happy New Year. Haven't talked to you.
Thanks for having me. Happy New Year.
Take care.
All right. I want to talk to you about my friends over at Advanced Hair Restoration. If the last couple of years have taught us one thing, this New Year's, it's to value the things that we can control. And addressing hair loss is no exception. Our friends at Advanced Hair Restoration can reverse years or even decades of hair loss with a simple one-day treatment. Your own natural hair begins to regrow the very next day, and your new hair is backed by the Advanced Hair Guarantee. It works for bald spots, receding hairlines, thinning hair, men, women, younger, wiser. Advanced Hair can address many different patterns of hair loss. Advanced Hair's top-rated physicians like Dr. Tanya Pauls have changed tens of thousands of people's lives. And now it's your turn. Schedule your free consultation by calling 720-459-HAIR. And to celebrate the new year, get special financing, $250 250 free hair grafts and $250 off. Value the things you can control and start regrowing your own natural hair today. That's 720-459-HAIR, or become inspired with the before and after pictures at advancedhair.com. All right, so what does this Laken-Riley Act do? Well, the new Republican-controlled House of Representatives, USA Today is reporting, passed its first bill this past Tuesday, the Laken-Riley Act, named for the 22-year-old Georgia nursing student killed by a Venezuelan immigrant living in the country illegally. Laken-Riley's murder became a rallying cry for Republicans during the 2024 presidential campaign. The Laken-Riley Act was passed 264 to 159, with 48 Democrats in the House joining the Republican majority. The bill will now move forward to the Republican-controlled Senate, which is expected to take it up tomorrow. All 52 Senate Republicans and Democrat Senator John Fetterman of Pennsylvania are co-sponsors of the bill. However, Republicans will need 7 more Democrat votes to overcome a filibuster and begin debate of the bill in the Senate. Now, what does this bill do? It's authored by Mike Collins of Georgia. The bill would require U.S. Immigration and Customs Enforcement to take custody of immigrants in the United States without legal permission who commit theft-related crimes like shoplifting. Current law says that people in the United States without legal permission are subject to deportation if convicted of a felony, but not necessarily minor crimes like shoplifting. So what do you think of this? Is this a good way to move forward? Now, all Republicans, members of the House here in Colorado, Gabe Evans, Jeff Hurd, Jeff Crank, Lauren Boebert, all supported it, and all the Democrats voted against it. Their concern being that this may violate due process rights, which I raise the hypocrisy flag that if Democrats really cared about process, maybe allowing illegal people into the country would be a higher concern for them. But in this case, it will lower the threshold. What Democrats think is going to happen is all of a sudden Donald Trump's going to use this to mass deport a lot more people. Because remember, we all said, go after the criminals. Well, he wants to lower the threshold of the criminals for deportation to theft. What do you think, Bill?
This is an interesting one. I disagree with the Democrats taking the stand. I understand what they mean by possible violation of due process. However, I think that we have procedures and policies in place where you can raise that question. That is more bureaucratic and stuff, but I'm less worried about that. And for me, though, what I'm worried about is this is a law or an act that is there just to make us feel good, as if we're doing something, because I am less convinced that this prevents murders like Laken-Riley. And what I mean by that is we see outlined in the act, you're caught for theft and some other things. You're then detained, ICE, and we're going through deportation process. The awful, awful human being that killed Lakin had been deported 6 times. So it's not like we have a magic wall around the U.S. and if you deport them, they can't come back in. This is like a video game when, the enemy respawns back at their home, spawn point, and then comes back into the game. If anybody's played Overwatch, Marvel Rivals gets this idea. That's what you're looking at, is just because you send them home doesn't mean they don't come back. And that's where I feel this leans more into the, look at how good we are. Look, we did something. Aren't we great? Rather than an actual affective change that is going to prevent this from happening in the future. That's what worries me, is I think this just leaves the opportunity open for us to feel good about it without really changing the system or keeping people like Lakin Riley safe.
All right. I disagree. I see it similar to essentially Giuliani's broken glass theory, broken window theory that was implemented in New York that actually made New York safe. Okay. Which is people don't just jump to murder. Okay. They oftentimes create or commit crimes on their way to doing more serious crimes. So if you intervene very seriously early on, you can not only hopefully stop the perpetrator from getting to further and further more serious crimes, but you can actually protect the innocent people in your communities better. And so the broken glass theory is that if you walk by an abandoned house and somebody's already broken a window, well, then, it doesn't seem that bad to chuck a rock and break a window too. So you're inviting, by allowing something to happen, you actually kind of invite more of it. So nip it in the bud early, take it on directly. And I love the message that this sends, that if you're here illegally, you can't do anything. I mean, you can't steal a candy bar or the United States of America is kicking you out. I think that sends the exact right message that illegal immigrants have. If you have somehow gotten here and you were living quietly, well, you're pretty lucky, because the second that something goes wrong and you steal a candy bar, you're out of here, baby. And I love the fact that the United States of America is sending that message.
Didn't we broken windows the killer of Lakin Riley, though? We deported him 6 times. So isn't that the same thing, though?
That's a good question, but I think you combine that with stronger border control protections. Now we're starting to get somewhere.
Again, I'm less convinced on that one, because I mean, what are we looking at as far as stronger border patrol, border issues, as far as enforcement? That's, I think, part of the problem as well.
Alligators and hippopotamuses.
The problem is where you're going to put that moat, because you're going to have to dig through private land, and you know how much Americans are happy when the government says, "Hi, I'm coming here to take some of your land away." We're always super excited about that one. We're like, "Oh yes, can I make you a pot of tea inside? Let's come on in and talk about it."
It has alligators and hippopotamuses, maybe.
And the hippopotamuses are more dangerous than the alligators, honestly.
So do you agree? Yeah, you're exactly right. Do you agree with the Republicans on the Lakin Riley Act? I would love to hear on the text message line, the Dan Caplis Law text line, 720-819-5115. Or do you agree with the Democrats and the ACLU that we have due process rights? We need to protect the constitutional rights of illegal immigrants. Give us a call. Phone line is 303-696-1971. Look, are you going to start the new year dealing with the same old joint pain, losing sleep, not able to take walks or do what you love because of your knees or hips? Don't do it. Take action now to get the pain relief you deserve for 2025. Call QC Kinetics now. Say goodbye to shoulder and back pain. QC Kinetics local medical professionals are waiting for you. Their advanced protocols in regenerative medicine have helped tens of thousands of people, and I'm talking about lasting relief. Imagine a new year without those achy joints. No more pain pills, no more steroids. QC Kinetics uses the healing properties of your own body to attack the root cause of your pain, revitalizing your joints so you can move again. This is the future of medicine. If you've been told surgery is your best or only option, you deserve a second opinion. Find out if all natural regenerative medicine is right for you. Call QC Kinetics. The consultation's free, and you can use HSA and FSA dollars. Live your best life in 2025, and let's get started now. Here's the phone number, 303-900-8986. That's 303-900-8986. 8986 with locations in Aurora, Superior, Highlands Ranch, and the Springs. You're listening to The Jeff and Bill Show.
This is Denver's talk leader, News Talk 710 KNUS. Would the Laken Riley Act have prevented her murder? What do you think?
At this hour, I'm Christina Owayo in Dallas, and here are your top stories. Joe Biden is giving Ukraine another $500 million in weapons, adding to the $64.1 billion in military assistance already sent to the country. White House spokesperson John Kirby previously said that the U.S. would continue to fund Ukraine, quote, right up to the end of this administration. 10 days ago, Biden announced that he was sending Ukraine $725 million worth of missiles, ammunition, anti-personnel mines, and other weapons. The administration is trying to send as much funding as possible to the country before President Donald Trump takes office on January 20th. Today's package includes ammunition for rocket systems and high-speed anti-radiation missiles, among other things. Authorities in Boston say a passenger on a JetBlue plane that was taxiing at the Boston International Airport suddenly opened an exit door but was quickly held down by other passengers. A state police spokesperson said the person is facing charges. JetBlue detailed how the opening of the exit door caused an emergency slide to deploy on Flight 161 from Boston to San Juan. U.S. applications for unemployment benefits fell to their lowest level in nearly a year last week. The Labor Department said that applications for jobless benefits fell to 201,000 for the week ending January 4th, which is down from the previous week's 211,000. That's what you need to know at this hour. In Dallas, Christina Owayo, Salem News Channel.
So online rumors that Hickenlooper may come over and support the Lake and Riley Act.
Yeah. I think this is one of those.
That's the leading report. Says 6 Democrat senators are now on board to advance the Lake and Riley Act. Hickenlooper, Fetterman, Gallego. Is he the one from Arizona? Rosen, Kelly, and Peters.
I still think there were just too many of them in there. So that's why I don't remember all of them, who they are. Like, if we can get rid of some of them. But on a side note, this is what I can't understand strategically is what the big hangup is for a number of the Democrats on this bill. Because in my opinion, it doesn't necessarily change much. It's a feel-good piece of legislation. There will be some practical applications in some small windows of crime in which this will be an advantage, but I remain unconvinced that this stops the murder from Lake and Riley or other similar situations. And that's what I'm worried about. However, because of that, all those things I've just outlined, what's the harm in voting for it? I believe that a lot of the Democrats are crying crocodile tears. And for me, this is an example that you brought up earlier, how our politics becomes like our sports teams, that the Democrats have just decided that the people that are wearing the other jerseys, they're in favor of this. So because of that, we have to root against them. It's like, and shout out to Gabe, who I know is listening and is on the text messages. It's like us Broncos fans. We have 2 teams that we cheer for each and every weekend. 1, the Broncos. 2, whoever's playing the Raiders. That's it. We don't care. We don't care what jerseys the people playing the Raiders are wearing. They're our team for that Sunday. And I feel this is the same thing, that the Democrats are saying, well, they proposed it, then I'm a no. And that's part of the problem as far as why our governmental system is broken and why we can't find reasonable solutions. This seems reasonable. I see no reason at all to vote against it if you have a D by your name. I would love to hear their justifications.
Interesting, Billy.
Every once in a while, I'll surprise you.
Interesting.
Every once in a while.
Others are reporting that Democrats have indicated an openness towards supporting the bill, with a handful now saying they will support a procedural vote to begin debate coming Friday. Spokesperson for Senator Hickenlooper said that the senator is interested in voting to proceed to the bill to amend it, but does not support the Lake and Riley Act in its current form.
Yeah, and they should move it to a debate, because then everybody gets to make their stupid speeches that they can clip and then send back home and go, look, I'm doing this. Yeah, so you need to do that, because if you want this thing to move forward, you got to give the politicians their moment to create the videos to send home to get the monies. So that's partly smart. And let's have it. Let's have the amendments. Let's see what the Democrats think can be the fix. What are the warts they want to fix on this bill? I'm curious.
At the end of the day, I just think they want them here. I just think that Democrats want illegal immigrants here. You see that with Mike Johnston and the sanctuary state, and willing to accept cuts to the federal funding in order to keep the sanctuary state status. I just think that they want illegal immigrants here. And so any effort, including, putting them in an ICE detainer because of theft, well, that might get them out of here. And we want illegals here.
Yeah, I think, and the thing is, I think that universally, both Democrats and Republicans want the illegals here because again,
cheap labor.
Yeah, cheap labor. And it is a political cudgel that you can use against the other party. You don't care about this underserved group, whatever that group is. So it allows you to make hay.
I find it wildly hypocritical, and I'm going to raise my little hypocritical flag here, that the Democrats are now all of a sudden deeply concerned about due process when the illegal immigrants didn't follow a single process to coming here in the first place. They just walked over the border. God, but now it's due process that I am standing by. Whatever. All right. Colorado Christian University invites you to a special event on Friday, February 7th, with singer and songwriter Stephen Curtis Chapman and his wife, Mary Beth Chapman. In partnership with CCU's School of Music, this exclusive free event promises an inspiring musical evening filled with powerful personal stories of healing, hope, and adoption. With a music career that has spanned more than 3 decades, Stephen Curtis Chapman is the most awarded artist in Christian music history. This event offers a rare opportunity to hear the heart and hope behind the songs you know and love. Plus, you'll hear from Mary Beth Chapman, co-founder and board chair of Show Hope, a nationally recognized nonprofit in adoption advocacy and orphan care. So join Colorado Christian University on Friday, February 7th for an evening with one of Christian music's most influential artists. Free tickets are available for a limited time, so get yours today at ccu.edu/Chapman. That's ccu.edu/Chapman. We'll continue with your phone calls and texts. You're listening to The Jeff and Bill Show.
This is Denver's Talk Leader, News Talk 710 KNUS.
I'm Christina Wyo in Dallas, and we have breaking news coming in the Salem News Channel. Canadian Prime Minister Justin Trudeau has resigned as leader of the Liberal Party. Trudeau has been the Prime Minister of Canada for 9 years and the leader of his party for 11. He faced growing pressure from his own party's lawmakers to step down and faced numerous crises, from the resignation of key allies to disastrous opinion polls and even tariff threats from President Donald Trump. Trudeau is widely expected to lose the general election that will be held later this year, with his resignation being seen as the prime minister choosing to leave before being pushed out. President Donald Trump is expected to grant clemency to more than 1,000 January 6ers as Congress gets set to certify Trump's victory in the 2024 election. 4 years after thousands of people took to the Capitol to support Trump and protest what they called a, quote, rigged election, the events of January 6th have become a campaign center point for the Democrats, and hundreds remain in jail. Trump will be back in the White House in 2 weeks, at which point many expect him to fulfill his promises of swift clemency for the 1,000-plus people convicted and hundreds more with pending cases. Pardons early on will set the tone for Trump's plan to eliminate political persecution. This year's January 6 election certification has been designated a national special security event, which will be overseen by the Secret Service. In Dallas, Christina Wyo, Salem News Channel.
Welcome back to the Jeff and Bill Show. If you care about illegal immigrants, stay out of Walmart. 7586. Businesses want free labor, but cheap labor will do.
Yeah, that's true. And I'm fascinated by the text messages, and I wish we'd get a phone call. It's a little too short in the show now, about the people that disagree with giving due process to people that are in the country illegally. That's really, really weird, because if we're talking about, life, liberty, pursuit of happiness, I understand that they're not citizens here. However, does that mean that if I find out that someone that could be working on my property is an illegal, I can turn them into slaves? They don't have any due process. If I decide to, can I rape them? They don't have any due process. So what would happen to me? The other part is, can I shoot them? If I feel this is an illegal immigrant, if it's an illegal immigrant that is trying to steal my car, and I pull out my firearm and shoot them, I can't be charged. If you believe that they have no due process, they have no rights in this country. That's why I find this very interesting. The idea that we can't extend due process
The critique, though, is some are saying, well, they're just going to be deported without the right processes and stuff like that. Jason Crow, for instance, saying that I don't want to separate families without due process. Okay, it's a detainer hold.
Yeah.
So if you're stealing, we're not like, it's not like you get drug from the 7-Eleven and thrown on a plane and just sent back to Venezuela, although, not necessarily the worst idea, but you're on hold with ICE. You're separated out while they deal with your immigration status. And the truth is, you've already committed a crime. You're here illegally. So now we're just working through the process of the fact that you came here illegally. You already committed a crime, and then you committed another crime on top of the crime. So we're going to put a detainer on you with ICE. That's what it does. The Democrats absolutely should support this and start putting the American people first.
How long can we detain them? In theory, what would you think?
Yeah, I don't know.
And I think that's the question.
Enough to figure out your immigration status.
Yeah, the thing for me is it could be indefinite. They just decide to hold indefinitely, and then you're there for 3, 4, 5 years. I mean, that's the
like
question.
Gitmo?
Yeah, that's what I'm kind of curious about. That's what I'm worried about, and I appreciate the call. I wish I could get to the phone call that's ringing right now, but I can't. We're running out of time.
We're gonna sit the candy bar thief to Gitmo.
Yeah, that's what I'm worrying about. Is that I don't like the idea of an indefinite detention. If there was something that said you had to have it adjudicated by this time,
well,
maybe
read the bill, but
I know
it is long and complicated. It's not that long; it's 8 pages, but it's what it is, and that's why it's kind of hard to read. Is it changes a bunch? So it's like we're going to change Section 241A2 of the Immigration Nationality Act, and striking during the removal period, and insert the following in general during the removal period. So I don't know. I don't know what the exact length is on all that.
Yeah.
Well, we've had an absolutely fantastic show. Barb Kirkmeyer joined us to reveal that our lieutenant governor getting 2 paychecks from the people.
Dude, I need that job.
2 paychecks from the taxpayers of Colorado. Wow. I'm not making this up. Running the office of saving people money.
That is the best part about it. The office of saving people money is paying government officials twice because that saves us money.
Crazy.
Maybe I don't do government math.
Ted Trimpa joined us and said that the Democrats are too committed to the LGBTQ alphabet soup.
Yeah, you should listen to that interview if you missed it with him, because he points out directly 2 problems the Democrats had, and one of them was the woke agenda.
Yep.
Very interesting to hear that from Ted.
That was interesting as well. So all of this we have on a podcast. If you go to 710knus.com, you can download the podcast there. We're also up and active on X. And Bill.
Yes, sir.
I'm going to put on my heavy jacket and go down to the parade.
You are. Hey.
For the National Western Stock Show. So if you are down there, it starts at 1 p.m. today. Hopefully they delayed it a little bit. So hopefully the snow runs off and does its thing. But I'm going to go down there for that. So if you are down there, we'd love to see you.
Yeah, come say hi to Jeff. Look for his cowboy hat. Look for his jacket. Come say hello. He'll do some videos with you and stuff like that. I'm going to be in music meetings. So today's my fun day. I'm doing music. I'm picking music for hundreds of stations across the country for Westwood One. This is a fun day.
Union Station, 17th Street, 1 p.m. Western Stock Show Parade kicks off. All right. Thank you all for listening and being a part of today's show. You're listening to The Jeff and Bill Show.
This is why we are Denver's talk leader. News Talk 710 KNUS.